Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Ari. We have another special episode with a special guest, Rochelle. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Started off pretty good.
Has there been anything on your mind as of late pertaining to the subjects of mental health, emotional intelligence, self-love?
I feel like those are all things that are like consistently on my mind, like in some way or form. I think emotional well-being just for me, like personally, has been a thing. Like I don't know, because I had like a really bad point school-wise, family stuff, just a lot of drama going on. So I've been trying to figure out how to like kind of recenter myself and just reground myself and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what is your like? Do you have a self-care routine or like a mental health routine every day? Like things that you do every day to show yourself love and take care of yourself?
I wouldn't say daily, like I try to, but honestly, I slip up. But when I do find the days, like, and I actually decide to put time towards myself, I'm either meditating. I listen to music every day though, so I feel like that's therapeutic in its own. Music, meditating, what else? Also going outside more. Like today, I'm going on a hike later. Um, Something I haven't done in a while, so I'm excited to go out and just kind of reconnect with nature because I've been finding out that the sun has been really helpful for me, like these past couple of weeks. So that
Yeah, the sun is 100%. Just like being outside changes your mood like in an instant. And like
literally.
one of the reasons I asked that is because like we think that there's like one way that you can like take care of your mental health, but like there's just like literally infinite ways. And like that's one of the
Hmm.
things that I just like get out of like talking to people and hearing about like their unique things. Like one thing that I do, I'm not sure if you saw one of the episodes, but like I talk about like magical melodies. And
Yeah,
that's
I
something that
love
I've
that.
never really heard anybody else talk about. And that's something
Hmm.
that kind of just came to me that I realized that like I have all these songs stuck in my head, but they're kind of like bad and they're like degrading my mental health. So
Right.
if I get things that are stuck in my head that are like loving and like positive, then I
Mhm.
realized that that really changed like the reprogramming in my mind. Are there any
Yeah, no,
ways
I
like
literally like sorry, I literally watched that video like a couple days ago and I was like, this is such a simple thing, but like literally you can just do this on the fly and like it's so helpful. And I caught myself doing it yesterday. I forget what I was singing about, but something was happening. I think when you were like doing yours, you were singing like a patience song, like you have to have patience to to be patient. And then like I caught myself singing that and I was like, oh my God, that's actually so helpful. Like yeah.
exactly? And like one thing I noticed is that like when you come up with it yourself, like I'm not a very musical person, but like when you
Hmm.
come up with it yourself, like you have that extra like connection and like you're not going to
Definitely.
forget about it. But like are there any specific like musicians or artists that you listen to like for mental health or just for like self-love, self-healing?
Hmm. Well, I don't know if you know Janae Aiko, but like she does
Yes, yes.
R&B song, and it's like it's kind of funny because her lyrics aren't always like the most like spiritual, I guess. But like I know that like I think in her last album she used like sound bowls in it, so like it just has like its healing nature in it already, and also her voice is just really soothing. I think if I'm trying to like just kind of wind down or whatever. Honestly, it depends on the mood. Like some days I'm in the mood for R&B, some days I'm in the mood for K-pop. It really depends. But I like to typically listen to like slower, just kind of more like calm stuff. Specific artists. Yeah, so Janae Aiko, who else? Frank Ocean.
Mm.
Um, and then just because like they're like my favorite artists at the time, like BTS.
Yeah. I was gonna say like Janae for one, like I know that she's a great voice and like
Right.
actually have like her poetry book. I don't
Oh
know if you know
really?
that she has like a poetry book. I read it a while ago. I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was pretty good. Like it was definitely very like deep and like emotional, like heartfelt.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I would recommend to other people as well because I don't know many like artists that like just like have a poetry book
Right,
out.
right, right.
I think that's super cool, especially because like
Mm-hmm.
I write poetry, like have poetry books, just like to see that like kind of
Right.
inspiration.
I love
So
that.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Do you have any like specific stories about like you going through mental health issues or things that like you could share that like would make other people understand that like they're not alone?
Yeah, I feel like my struggle with mental health started before I even knew I was struggling with mental health. So that was probably like in middle school. Let's see. I don't know. Like I was really going through a tough time because my older sister has autism and growing up around that was always hard because there'd be like times when she'd be like really on the extreme end and like her behavior was like really uncontrolled. And then there'd be times when it was good. So middle school was when it started getting really bad. So that was, and I was like kind of not like facing it. I was just kind of letting it happen, but I didn't really actually process how that was making me feel and stuff like that. Neither did anyone in my family, honestly. So we were all just kind of like letting it exist as its own separate thing and just not addressing it, which in the long run I don't think benefited any of us. But yeah. So like around that time, my schoolwork started to go really to shit too. Like I just completely had given up on middle school, like, and just work. But then high school came, freshman year, I was so excited. I don't know. I think it was like the change. So I was doing really good. I was like all like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, like, I'm gonna graduate high school with a 4.0 GPA. It's gonna be perfect. And then sophomore year, I got introduced to the hardest math class in existence, which was honors algebra and trigonometry, and that class literally ruined my life because that was when I realized, okay, maybe I can't get by on not studying anymore for the first time. And it just really ruined my confidence because I used to love math, honestly. But then when I realized that I couldn't just figure it out on like the fly like that, I was like, whoa, maybe I'm not smart. Maybe I'm not intelligent like I thought I was. So I had like a lot of doubt. And then that just kind of set the tone for the rest of high school. It was just a lot of me doubting myself and struggling to jump over that doubt.
That's very interesting that you bring that up. Like there's a lot to unpack there, but like I've
Hmm.
noticed that like not like I would say like 90% of people's stress and mental health issues come from like school and schoolwork. And it's really
Hmm.
interesting that you talk about how like you not being able to figure out a math class kind of ruined your confidence in other areas of your
Yeah,
life. And like did
definitely.
you see that going out like into your social life as well and like your extracurriculars?
Yeah, I used to be like freshman year, I was also in like basically every social, I mean, like extracurricular that they had. Like I was like, I need to go out and like really do as much as I can. But then like I don't know, once sophomore year came and then like math started to show my confidence, it was really obvious. Like I just looked depressed 24/7 walking around school. I stopped caring about like how I was looking. Not that like I was in a superficial way before, but just like literally I would just wear like the same sweater like every day. It was just bad. But yeah, I think I started comparing myself to my friends a lot when they were getting like better grades than I was. And like as much as I tried to tell myself, it was such a like consistent battle between like grades don't define me, but also I need to do good to prove. So it was a lot. Yeah, it was definitely hard. Like I think it affected me a lot. I just started isolating myself in general because then that doubt in math just became doubt in myself, period. Like what else am I bad at that I thought I could be good at?
Yeah, exactly. And like that's one of the things that like I really dislike about our current schooling system is that like people's worth is tied to like a specific number that has to do with a grade that you got on a
Right.
multiple choice test. And especially with like Zoom classes that people are always looking at their notes and maybe looking at other stuff.
Right.
And I just kind of maybe not feel bad, but like I kind of feel for the people that are going through like middle school and high school right now and they're not like able to socialize because like you were in
Yeah,
that situation, but like at least you were able to like go and like be in contact with other people every day, which
absolutely.
definitely like raised your mood. But like if you're somebody going through depression right now in like middle school and
Hmm.
your only contact is with people on a screen, that must be like extremely tough. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
I'm like worried for my little sister who's in seventh grade right now. And like like she used to really, I think her relationship with grades was always healthier than mine. Cause I feel like mine from the jump was like a prove yourself thing. But for her, it's just like she genuinely just likes, doing well or whatever. And she was doing really good like sixth grade. And then she got sent home at the end of sixth grade. And her grades just went completely down. And then like now she doesn't even want to go to school in person. Like she's doing hybrid right now, but she's not in classes with her friends. So she's like, I don't even want to go to school anymore. There's no point. And like it feels bad because I'm like, online schooling isn't the best for her because I know it's not, again, grades don't mean everything, but it's still like you gotta pass. You're in middle school. But she's just not like connected to it at all, like socially or school wise. It's just like it's hard to watch. I'm like, please don't fall down the hole.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have two siblings or do you have more?
I have three siblings. So I have my older sister, who is 21. I'm 20. My older brother, who's 23. 23? Yeah. And then my little sister, who is 13.
Yeah. So have you been able to like say learn things about mental health from like your older siblings and potentially like teach it to like your younger siblings?
Um, I don't know if I necessarily learned from my older siblings, because honestly, I wouldn't say I think my older brother just got into mental health honestly like recently. But I feel like just seeing how my family dynamic was in general made me want to learn about mental health more, which might have even like piqued my interest in psychology from the beginning because I realized, like I said earlier, like we just weren't really talking about a lot of things. It was kind of just letting things happen. And I feel like that's something that happens a lot in Black families specifically. So I was like, no, like I want to do better. I want to, kind of end this generational curse, so to speak, and, like learn how to actually work on my mind because a lot of people don't know that your mind is just as important as like your physical body. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And like that's the thing that's like unseen. Like and in our society we're trained to believe that like just because you can't see something doesn't
Hmm.
mean it's not real.
Right.
Just because you can't see that somebody's like suffering on the inside and like
Right.
holding in something. And like I also think it's interesting that you talked about how because I see this as a common thread of like you were going through things, but you didn't
Hmm.
really know that you were because nobody
Yeah.
really taught you how to identify these emotions
Right.
in yourself. Do you think that you would have benefited? Because I know I would have from maybe taking an emotional intelligence class in like sixth grade or even like elementary
Absolutely.
school.
Absolutely. Honestly, I think that needs to start like in elementary school because that is when you're really first learning how to react to situations and how to deal with situations. So I don't know why we weren't already teaching kids how to deal with it. Like that doesn't make sense. And I feel like especially as you get older and you get more experience, you realize that this is happening to younger kids as well. So why aren't we focusing on like teaching them how to help themselves at an earlier age? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I think one of the things, like one of the arguments for people who would say against that, like, oh, like maybe it's not that easy to learn about, but I disagree. I think that this stuff is so simple, simple
Hmm.
enough that you could teach somebody in kindergarten and these things could last for your entire life. And that's the time where you could build this foundation. And I'm of the belief that if you start teaching kids about like mental health, emotional
Hmm.
intelligence, like self-love from kindergarten, like there wouldn't be anything as bullying. Because where does
I
bullying
agree.
come from? Where does
I
bullying
agree.
come from? It comes from people like hating other people for being different. But
Right.
why are you hating on somebody else? It's because you don't like yourself
You don't like
inside
what you see in
and you
yourself.
want to make somebody else feel bad, which is just like
Literally.
crazy.
I feel like people want to complicate mental health, but it doesn't need to be complicated. I feel like simple things like your melodies. I don't know. If we could just teach kids that one to be okay with yourself and to just accept everyone as they are, then a lot of our issues currently would not be existing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think I think maybe I don't know if it's the stigma around mental health that's like making people scared to like even approach it. Like, well, kids don't need to learn about that yet. But I mean, why wouldn't they need to learn about what they're eventually going to be going through at some point?
Yeah, exactly. And like there's still such a large stigma. It's definitely being broken, especially just like having a conversation like this, that, like people wouldn't have even 10 to 20 years ago. And I know that
Hmm.
when I was going through my mental health issues, it took me so long to speak up and tell somebody about it because of the stigma, because I feared like getting judged or people will think I'm
Definitely.
weak.
Hmm.
Do you feel like there was something similar with you in that case?
Absolutely. I think culturally, but also specific to my family, we're also very like keep it in. You don't need to tell people what you're going through. Like, yeah, just conceal, don't feel. But I don't think that really helps anything. I think I grew up with a lot of the pressure of like you don't show people that like you're struggling because then that's a sign of weakness. But I don't know. I guess as I've evolved more in my mental health journey, I'm realizing that it's literally the complete opposite. And being able to recognize your own issues is probably one of the biggest strengths you can have. Like that has literally completely changed my life since I've known how to like do that and hold myself accountable, but also just be able to bring to the light like what is the problem. Like, okay, Rochelle, you're going through something right now. You can't just act like you're not. So let's address that. Let's work on that.
Yeah. And it's like when you pretend like something's not wrong, you try to push it down. Like I compare it like I wrote this in my first poetry book like you're
Hmm.
an emotions hoarder. You're literally hoarding your
Hmm.
emotions. You don't want to like let them out and you
Yeah,
think that keeping it all bottled up is going to make it go away, but all that's going to do
not at
is
all.
compound the problem. And I feel
Yeah.
like if we were encouraged, and I think one of the best ways to let your emotions out creatively is through art. And
Mm,
I feel like school, again, another thing that kind of suppresses your creativity. They don't want you to be
absolutely.
creative. They want you to memorize information, useless information that you're not going to need about, like the mitochondria, and it's the
Right, right.
powerhouse of the cell.
I know.
And everybody knows that, but like people don't know how to like love yourself and like how to
Right.
like meditate. What age did you start meditating at?
I literally just got into meditating a year ago. Like I feel like my whole spiritual and slash mental health journey started, yeah, a year ago, like when I was in college in my freshman year. Because what's it called, my first semester, to say the least, it was just not good. It was like terrible, and I hit like a really bad breaking point, and I had just like completely given up on like everything. I was just like, I just remember waking up this one day, I had no feelings whatsoever. I was just completely apathetic. I was over it because nothing was going well. And then I remember I went on YouTube and like I watched a pick a card reading like randomly because I had just started watching those, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And then it was just such an uplifting message of like, yeah, like I know you just went through something, but it's about to get better. And I was like, well, I guess every video could say this though. And then I just went on to every video. I was picking a bunch of random cards, and like they were all just saying the same thing. I was like, there's no way this is a coincidence. And then as I got more into that, I was like, okay, this is like the sign. Like, it's time for me to try a different route. Because before I grew up Christian, but when I got to school, I also realized that that wasn't really for me anymore. So as I got into spirituality, I got into meditating, and then it's so life changing. Like taking that 10-15 minutes in the morning to just center and ground myself, so helpful,
That's
so
awesome.
liberating.
That's awesome. So would you say that that's a daily routine, or how many times a week do you think you meditate?
I try to make it daily, but at like the least, at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Trying to get
I,
that up there every day though.
I think it's interesting that you shared like a similar story because like freshman year is like when I was going through like depression, anxiety, all my
Hmm.
mental health issues. And like I'll always tell this story. It's like nothing worked for me.
Yeah.
And I literally looked up, like Googled like what can I do to like cure like depression and anxiety? And the only two things that came up were meditation and cold showers. And my instant
Yeah.
reaction was like, that's stupid, but like I have to
Hmm.
try this because nothing else has worked. And like those are two things. I think that cold showers is like kind of like an instant thing. It's not like a
Hmm.
magic pill, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
meditation, people don't realize that like you're gonna suck at it at first.
Absolutely.
It's not even something you can be good at, but like it's not gonna be like you meditate for 3 minutes and then you're just like enlightened, like
Right.
you don't have
Right.
any worries anymore. And I know that the first time I meditated, I could do it for like 15 to 20 seconds. Do you have like a
Hmm.
similar like, because there's just so much stuff going through your mind?
Yeah, I think that's a good point about the not knowing how to do it or like being bad at it in the beginning, because I remember just being really impatient. So I'd be looking up like how to be patient, when I meditate or something like that. Cause like you said, instantly you close your eyes and it's like, okay, what am I gonna do today? Blah, blah, blah. But like that's why I started with guided meditations, because it definitely made it easier, because just listening to just straight up music in the back, I would have been all over the place. But having that voice kind of like reminding me to breathe or think of like a specific mantra, that was really helpful. And I think also you said something that was really silly. Like you thought it was silly too at first. I definitely agree, because I remember I was like, I'm not a meditating person. Like, what is meditating? Whatever. And also like positive affirmations. Like I used to like I think the same thing when I was looking up like, like I'm really depressed and anxious. What do I do? Like they're like, just, I don't know, make yourself feel better, do some affirmations. So I looked some up on YouTube and I was like, this is so corny. Like it's like, oh, you are beautiful. You deserve love. And I was just like, I mean, I guess, whatever. But like no, like the more I listened to it like every day, I was like, wait, no, okay. You're right. I am worthy of love. Okay. That it's hitting different now.
Yeah. And like one of the things, I actually made a podcast episode about that. It was called Writing Your Own Self-Love Affirmations.
Hmm.
And I think that one of the big things, like, I don't really feel like affirmations really worked for me, not as good as like magical melodies. And I think
Hmm.
that one of the big reasons was that I was like using somebody else's words.
Right.
How do they know about me? So I
Right.
started writing my own, and I was like, I instantly have this like emotional connection to it,
Hmm.
which like it's more believable for me to say
Right.
because I'm
Right.
the one who wrote. Have you ever just like written your own
No,
affirmations?
yeah, definitely. I think in the beginning I tried to write my own, but it felt like too forced, like opposite of you, I guess. So I was still going with the already pre-recorded YouTube ones or whatever. But then I think honestly, a little bit just before I watched your Magic Melodies video, I was like, maybe I should try writing my own affirmations again, just because, like you said, it does provide more of a emotional connection. And I definitely agree. Like when I do my own, I find myself way more like, okay, it's more authentic and it's more like personal.
Yeah, and like just to be clear, like this has been like probably like 3 or 4 years into into like my mental health self-love journey
Mm.
where I wrote them. Like at the beginning, I was using like
Uh,
other people's affirmations and like
okay.
watching YouTube videos, and I just like felt like there was something I could have been doing more.
Yeah.
And I've actually done some guided meditations. I'm not a huge fan of them just because like I like silence, like or like I
Yeah. Yeah.
listen to like some like 432 hertz music or like
Right, right.
528? Like, do you know
Hmm.
about that?
Yeah. So I'll listen to like guided meditation like only in the morning. That's a specific morning one. Like I don't know why. I think it's the music in that one, and also her voice is really soothing. So I just listen to that one in the morning. But if I'm trying to do like some other type of meditation, like I'll say like today I'm gonna specifically do like some inner child work or like my higher self. Then I'll listen to just like 432 hertz music and like frequency, and I'll listen to all that and meditate to that.
Yeah. So what specific guided meditation do you listen to? I'll check it out.
I think it's called like 10 minutes, 10-minute morning guided meditation. I'll find it and then I can show it to you. Do you want me to do it now or?
No, you can do it
Okay.
after, but
All right, yeah. I'll send that to you later.
because I'm always just curious because that's also another thing that like everybody has a unique way to meditate. Like we
Mm-hmm.
want people want to think that there's just one way that you can do it. Like you
Right.
can meditate sitting down in your room. You can be cross-legged on the floor. You can be
Mm-hmm.
lying down. You can be
Yeah.
standing up. Have you
Right.
actually ever tried like standing up meditation? I forget what it's called.
I've never tried standing. I've tried like sitting on my floor or like sitting on my bed and laying down.
I like read about this once. I think it's called like the art of like standing like a tree. And I
Uh-huh.
don't know what it was, but like just like standing while doing it. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it has something to do with like the way your energy flows because like it's
Yeah.
flowing like from the and like basically like you can literally like feel like the stress going out of your like toes into the floor
Um,
and it's like crazy. Like that's something that
okay,
I
I
would
gotta try
recommend doing.
that.
Yeah, no. And it's just like it's so hard because it's funny, it's paradoxical how the hardest thing to do is to do literally nothing and just
Yeah,
stand there or sit
that's
there and
true.
just
That's
like
true.
but one of the biggest things that I think or that I know stops people from going deep is
Mm-hmm.
that the hardest part is the beginning of facing the negative emotions and the
Absolutely.
fear and basically you got to actually like face that with love and as hard as that
Mm-hmm.
is as hard as it sounds it's really as simple as just like feeling the pain because
Yeah.
if you're trying to all we do is try to avoid the pain and we don't realize that that's just going to cause us more pain in the future.
Absolutely. I think along with the stigma of mental health that's already like surrounded around it, I think, or surrounding it, I think that definitely, like you said, the fear of having to face those hard emotions is what keeps a lot of people back from actually investing in their mental health. And I really get it because, like I said, for years I just was suppressing, and that was my norm. You know, it's hard to get out of it. But what I've been saying recently to my friends and stuff, it's like the more I'm into it now, like the more I see that it's so hard, but also so easy. You know, like I feel like once you get to that, unfortunately, it does take a lot of people like to get to like a really low point before they really want to try to invest, which I wish we could fix by just starting it, you know, before all the trauma. But I think what was I gonna say? Yeah. The fear of like not wanting to address those emotions. So I think it's just about wanting, like you have to go through something sometimes that's really bad so that you can want better for yourself, and then once you really want better for yourself, it's easier to like be like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to like get rid of these negative emotions that are inside of me so I can move on.
Yeah. And like that I agree with that 100% because like the thing that I say is like this like mental health, emotional intelligence, self-love, like this is
Mm-hmm.
a need that everybody needs to be fulfilled, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something that not everybody knows that they need. And
Right.
the only people who are seeking it are the people who are in desperate situations, going through depression, going through mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that gets me is that it's so avoidable if we can prevent it before it starts by teaching
Right.
people this stuff beforehand. And that's
Absolutely.
obviously like why I try to do this podcast and like why I'm going to try to like pester people to get this in the school system
Mm-hmm.
because like it's something as simple as like why are you not taught meditation in kindergarten?
Right.
Like
Right. Like
like what are we doing in kindergarten? We're learning numbers, letters, words, and like maybe we could all sit down for 5 minutes
right.
and meditate. And if you do that every day and build it as a habit, like I just think like so like I started meditating maybe when I was
Mm-hmm.
like 19 or 18. You were probably the
Mm-hmm.
same. Like
Yeah.
imagine if you were doing it when you were like 9 and you had already been doing it for
Exactly.
10 years up to that point.
Could have saved a lot of stressful situations at the least, or at the very least prepared me to, you know, deal with them and like how to cope with them, because oh, a lot of people do not know how to cope, and that leads into like the emotional intelligence part of it too. But yeah, I don't know, just yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I know that like I would start doing it for like 30 seconds to a minute to 5 minutes. Like now I'm at the point where like I'll go for like 20 to 30 minutes in the beginning of the day in the morning.
Mhm.
And I realize how much that changes my mind, but how much it changes everything I do during the day. And
Yeah.
I also realized that like when you get past a certain point, past like the 20 or 30-minute mark, you're getting to this place, like you're going through all the negative emotions. You're getting into like, I would describe it as kind of like an inner well of bliss, like an
Yeah.
inner well of just like golden love within you that's like
Hmm.
infinite, like never ending. It's honestly very hard to describe. Obviously,
Yeah.
you could probably attest to that, but I noticed that like I would start just like crying tears of joy when I'm meditating, like being just like so happy and just being like,
Hmm.
I want everybody to feel like this, but I also know that like I can't meditate for somebody.
For
It's
someone, right,
it's gonna
right.
because it took me like 2 or 3 years to the point where I could meditate for 20 to 30 minutes at a time.
Hmm.
But now I know that I have like the mastery and control over my mind, which I can do that. But
Right.
people in our society try to pretend like you can't do that, that you can't control your thoughts and you
Right,
can't.
right, right.
Do you feel like you've gotten like more mastery over your mind just through practicing one
Mhm.
habit of meditation?
I think absolutely. I because last year, along with like freshman year, like when everything was just kind of going to shit, like I was extremely depressed, anxious. I describe it as like I was never living in the moment because I was always living in the future. I would wake up and then the first thought in my mind would be, okay, what am I doing tomorrow? What do I have to do for the rest of the day? What am I doing Friday? Whatever. But once I hit my breakdown and then like I got more into spirituality and into more like meditation and like just working on myself, I honestly feel like my anxiety has decreased by like 90%. Like I'm way more in control of how I react to situations and just how I perceive them in general. Like I'll see something that maybe a couple years ago would have really hurt me or like made me really upset or just really, I don't know, I take it too personally. But then I started to just see it differently and go, well, maybe I needed to go through that. And as cliche as it is, I know this sentence isn't the easiest to hear, I think, while you're going through stuff, but it gets better. It's such a simple sentence that really does ring true. And now that I have, again, my perception has changed, I can hear that sentence and not be like, oh, well, you don't get what I'm going through. Like I can apply that to myself and tell myself, oh, Rochelle, like, it's okay. Like, you're going to get through it. You keep getting through it.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge thing. It's like we're all like evolving, like, and
Hmm.
people think that evolution is kind of just like a straight up path like this, but it's more that like you go up a little and then you go down like a ton and you learn a
Right.
ton of stuff while you're there, and then you go up and you keep it's more like
Hmm.
curved in a curved path, maybe going back to math, like parabolas. I remember that
Yeah,
word.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't remember. I used to really love math, and then it really stopped being fun when they introduced letters into it. So maybe
Yeah,
around sixth grade,
that's fair.
it stopped being math. It just
Hmm.
started being more theoretical
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I
I
don't know.
agree.
I just feel like a lot of the stuff, and you could probably attest to this also, like a lot of the stuff I learned in school like was not useful to
Oh,
anything I do
most
now.
of the stuff
But
I
like
learned was not.
so like you're required to take history and
Hmm.
science and math and English, but you're not required to take emotions. Like
Yeah. I hate that so much. Like honestly, I think we first got psychology classes in general maybe my sophomore year of high school or maybe junior year. That's when they first. No, there was psychology my freshman year, but then that teacher left. She was like the best teacher first of all to like ever be at that school. And then she left and there was no psych classes. And then I think it came back my junior year. So I took AP psych my senior year. And I was like, why isn't psych a mandatory class? I was like, this isn't like this should literally be treated like math, science, social studies, English, whatever. Like these are I don't know, like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like I feel like psych is such a basic everyone should take this class. It's such a like it's to learn about yourself and our minds. Like why wouldn't everyone want to know about that? I don't know.
exactly. And like I know I should have taken AP psychology, but like I had absolutely zero interest in it in high school because I
Hmm.
wasn't like told to like pursue different things and try different things and find what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And to this day, I haven't taken one single psychology class, but yet like I've read like probably hundreds of psychology books. And like that's
Wow.
all that I literally read now. And that's all I care about. And
That's
it's
so
all that
cool.
like I try to do.
Hmm.
Um, which is like very cool. But in another way, it's like kind of sad because I know that I could have started learning about this stuff in like middle school, but
Right, right.
it was more important to learn about like biology and chemistry and like the
Yeah.
periodic table and things
Right.
that like I have no like
Stuff I don't
interest in.
remember at all. Had no interest in. Can't recall a single thing from chemistry class at all.
Exactly. And it's just like how did that help me today? Well, maybe I got a good grade so then I can get into a good school. But like
Right.
but like in the end, like it's what you do with the degree. Like
Absolutely.
you can get, especially in today's like job market where like we're in
Hmm.
the middle of a pandemic. Like I'm
Right.
actually about to graduate, so I'm looking for jobs. But like I realized that business is like I'm a business major. Like business is like at least 90 to 95% psychology. It's just
Hmm.
applied like that's all it
Yeah,
is.
that's so true.
Like sales and marketing, what are they?
Right, right, right.
They're trying to get you, they're trying to get inside your
Get
mind
into your mind,
and
right,
think
to
about how
sell you
you
the
think.
product. Hmm.
But like we're not required to take psychology or emotional intelligence
Right,
or any
right.
of that stuff. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what are you training us for? What?
That's exactly the thing. Like that's so weird. Like that's I'm so happy you say that because literally I'm like, what is the motive? Like not trying to accuse the government of anything or whatever, But I mean, the fact that, like I said, psych is such a basic, just learning how your mind works. What I don't understand why we're not teaching people how to learn their own minds. Like unless you're trying to keep them from being able to do that for whatever reason. But I mean, hey, I don't know.
Yeah, and like I think a big thing of it is that like I don't like to like assign blame. Like it's obviously not like a teacher's fault because the teacher's teaching the
Of course,
curriculum.
right.
And then like you could say like, all right, well, think about higher up, maybe like the superintendents, but like, well, what
Hmm.
if they have to follow like the state or like
Right, right.
federal mandate? And then you think about, you go higher up, and like when it gets higher up, you might even think like, wow, these people actually have no idea what they're doing. And it's not even like they're purposely trying to be evil. I mean, they
Yeah.
honestly might be. I don't
Who
know. I
knows,
can't
right?
say
Who
for sure,
knows?
but it's
Mhm.
really like, it's probably one of two things to make it simple. One, like they actually know that this is important and they don't
Right.
want, and they want to be like a mental health epidemic. And I don't
Mhm.
know who would want that. Or they're
True.
just so unaware and ignorant of the problems that are going on in our
That's a good point
society.
too.
And it honestly, that probably makes more sense because it does
Yeah.
seem that a lot of our leaders and politicians are really out of touch with like
Out of
what's
touch.
actually
Yeah.
going on in the world.
I feel like that's due to either one of two reasons. Like either one, just because they're so much older, and like the older generations, they weren't as mentally like aware, or they weren't as conscious about like mental health and stuff. Either that, or just I think maybe they have the privilege of not needing to worry about their mental health. Because I think when you're in a higher position of comfort and of privilege, which is what most of the people that are in the higher positions are in a place of, I think it's easy to kind of turn an eye and be like, well, we don't need to worry about how they're doing with the mental health, because we're fine. So it must not be that big of a deal. They're just exaggerating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. But I also would have to say that I think most of these people are probably going through like bad mental health issues.
That's true.
But exactly the thing that you said, that they don't know it
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're
yeah.
so out of touch with their emotions. They're
Mm-hmm.
so out of tune with like what's actually going on. And
Right.
then they kind of take that out on other people. Kind of
Absolutely.
the whole like, if you're a hater, like you're going to be throwing hate at other people.
Right, right.
You don't want to just keep it to yourself because
Exactly, exactly.
uh,
Exactly. That's so true.
I just think that's funny. So like I wanted to talk about like I saw that you posted videos on YouTube, and like that's
Hmm.
awesome. Like have you ever received like just like straight up hate comments on your videos?
Not yet. Honestly, I think that'll probably happen like maybe when I get a little bigger or something, but so far no. Like the closest to hate I've gotten was like a dislike on a racism video I made. So I was like, "Oh." But yeah, no hate comments yet.
Do you post on any other like reels or like TikTok or Pinterest or anything?
I do post on TikTok. I have a couple TikToks up, but I mean, yeah, I have like a few up there, but it's not like all the content that I'm like really trying to push out yet. Also, like for my YouTube channel, like I am planning on like kind of changing the content I have. Like right now, I mean, just to get started, I was kind of just doing like what I could do. Like, so I have my video about like things I wish I knew before college or whatever. But like my next video coming out is a video about like unconditional love. And like I want to like talk about more like I want to talk more about like mental health stuff, but also just philosophical questions, just kind of bring up things that people are kind of scared to talk about. Like, because that's what I used to do on Snapchat. So, like a couple years ago, I used to like post up like a controversial question or something, and then I'd have people like slide up with their responses, and then they would tell me how they feel about it, and then at the end, I'd kind of give my opinion on it, and that was like one of like my favorite thing. I don't know where that idea came from, but I'm so happy I did it because I don't know, I like hearing other people's opinions, and it's just yeah, like it's good to get different perspectives on things.
That's an awesome idea. I'm definitely gonna take that. You know, good artists create, but great artists steal. And
True, true.
they steal from great ideas. I really enjoyed. I watched yesterday the unpopular opinions video.
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember one that I thought do you remember like some of them? Because one of them like really stuck with me, and I
Was
kind
it
of
the
forget.
cancel culture one?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like who? So like the whole thing with cancel culture is that like
Mm-hmm.
some who are some people to say that like what their opinion is better than somebody else's opinion?
Right, right,
Like I would say the only thing that would be like better than anything is like if your opinion comes out of like unconditional love.
right, right,
But the thing
right.
is, if your opinion comes out of unconditional love, you would have compassion for people that make mistakes, and you would understand that anybody
Absolutely,
can like evolve, anybody
absolutely.
can change. Like somebody might have done something terrible in the past,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to look at who they were. Like I think I probably did like some bad things to myself in the past because
Absolutely.
I didn't love myself and hated myself. And at
Right.
the point where like I truly love myself, I realized like wow, like I would never want to like hurt anybody or make anybody feel like that alienated. And just like
Exactly.
and I agree with that take 100% that like who are you to say that my opinion is right, but you said that,
Like that
cancel.
is that is one of the things I hate, like I despise the most. Like I don't like when people can say things as if their truth is 100% and you're just whatever you're saying is an opinion, but whatever they're saying is the truth. Like that's I think I was watching Attack on Titan the other day, and like there was a quote in there and someone said the only truth is that there is no truth. And I was like, whoa, no, that's yes, exactly. Like you can't impose your truth onto someone else. Neither can they impose their truth onto you. So it's like, I don't know, if you have a different opinion, that's your opinion. Like again, as you like you said, as long as it's not coming from a place of hate, then why does it matter? Like just because we don't see eye to eye does not mean that we can't coexist. Or yeah, like literally coexist because you're trying to cancel somebody. Like you can't just cancel someone's existence. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I think it's ironic that the people who are like the cancel people, and like I
Hmm.
say that broadly, but like there's definitely like a little subsection of our society. Like there aren't like people that try to like there are people that just try to cancel everything.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the same people that are like advocate for free speech. Well, like it's free speech
Right.
if you say something that agrees with me.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's just like it's these people don't want to have a discussion about anything. And what I want to do is I want to open up a discussion about mental health, and like you might not agree with everything I say, but if you're going
Mhm.
to hate on like somebody who's trying to spread awareness about mental health, emotional
Right.
intelligence, like self-love, like you're exactly who my content is for.
Exactly. No, literally, it's like if you're mad, I'm probably talking to you because you shouldn't like I don't say things for you to be offended by. You know what I mean? Like I'm speaking my truth. You know, again, you don't have to agree necessarily, but like if you can't take it and you feel like you have to make it some negative thing or something, then that's completely your interpretation and that's all you. That has nothing to do with how I put it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I got my first hate comment on like a TikTok like a couple weeks ago, and like
Uh,
I was so excited. Like people have like a different reaction, but the way I
mhm.
see it is that like wow, like my content's getting to the place where like somebody actually went out of their way to like try and
Right,
make me
right.
stop. Like this person was like, "Oh, like delete your account or something, like stop trying, it's not worth it." And I was just like I just commented like thank you, like much love, and then like posted a
Mhm.
video about it like and what became like my highest like seen video
Really?
just saying like yeah like this is how like big like basically setting an example like this is how you treat people who are like hateful to you like you got to show them compassion. Like I can't even imagine what this
Mhm.
person's going through. I can't imagine even when I was going through like depression and anxiety. I was never the type of person that like wanted to like throw hate at other people.
Absolutely.
I was the type of
Absolutely.
person who just tried to keep it all to myself and kept everything to myself
Yeah.
to my detriment. But like if you're at the place where you feel the need to like comment on others' video, try to make them feel bad. Like I feel bad for you. Like I gotta
Yeah.
have compassion.
No, I relate to that 100% because literally ask anyone I went to school with, like every like whenever I was on a team, the awards I'd get at the end of the season was like Sunshine Award, like Positivity Award, like just always trying to spread positivity even when I was at my lowest points. And definitely there was times when it was harder than others because like I mean, I think it's easy to hold in your emotions up to a certain point. So right, there was definitely times when it was harder to put on the smile and stuff, but for the most part, I was never trying, or I was just very conscious not to like project my anger, my like disappointment, my negative feelings onto other people. So if I'm having a bad day, I'm trying twice as hard to be like to make someone else's day better. You know what I mean? And then that in turn makes me feel better because I just made someone feel better. It's a whole cycle, and I just wish that people could see it that way instead of oh I'm hurting, so let me go hurt someone else because that doesn't help anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think that you've always been like a positive or like optimistic person, or is that something you had to like teach yourself?
a good question. I've been thinking about that because for my personality class, we had to write like an essay about three of our most like defining traits, and I talked about that. And I don't know. I want to say I feel like both. I feel like it was kind of innate in me because it never necessarily felt forced. But I also think maybe I developed it more or like got better at it due to like the depression and stuff I was dealing with. So I got better at being positive, like, you know.
Yeah, this is my theory that I just completely made up on the spot, but just thought
Hmm.
of. Um, I feel like everybody is born like your innate like sense of like natural state is like being like loving, like positive and
Hmm.
optimistic. And like I remember like that was me up until like I went into middle school, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden like something switched, and I became like super like negative, pessimistic,
Yeah.
and that went on throughout entire middle school and high school until freshman year of college when I went through like depression, anxiety, and knew I had to make a change. And I was like, wow, like I would rather just be like a super positive, optimistic person and just be like out of this world
Absolutely.
than to be like realistic and be like negative, because
Right.
I see how that affected my life, and like this isn't what I want to be doing. And I've realized how much that's changed my life, just and it's something that
Yeah.
I had to like work on every single day. It's not something that like
Absolutely.
comes overnight, which is what I want to stress to people, like with
Hmm.
patience and consistency and discipline. And like these aren't like sexy words. These aren't words
Right.
that
Right.
people want to hear. People want to say like, "Oh, I just want to take like a magic pill and be like
Hmm.
perfect and enlightened." Like that's not
There
how it
isn't.
works. Because
Right.
what would you learn from that?
Nothing. Like it literally is about the journey and learning how to do it. Like, that's a good point. Like the not overnight. I remember one specific day, like I just woke up and I was having a bad day from the start. I don't know why, but everything was going wrong. Like I think I woke up late. I was about to miss the bus for school and everything, and I was like, it's gonna be a bad day. It's gonna be a bad day. And then I remember I was like, wait, why would I start off my day like this? Why? Like as I was walking to the bus stop, I was like, no, it's okay. Like you're gonna get to school when you get there, and it's gonna be. And like genuinely, obviously, I didn't see how that day was gonna play out if I kept that mindset, but I just knew inside that it was gonna really be a bad day if I kept saying that. And that was like probably the first time I actually realized like the thoughts, keeping your own self positive too. Like it's not just about spreading positivity and being happy to other people. You have to be nice to yourself. So if you're just feeding yourself bad thoughts, of course you're gonna have a bad day. And like I think I was having a bad week, so I was just like, it's continuing on. But then that day, I was like, let's change it. Like let's end this bad day streak and let's just make it a good one. And then all of a sudden, everything that was happening was funny to me, or it wasn't as serious, and I was way more relaxed. You got to be nice to people, but be nice to yourself as well too. And I think a lot of people forget about that part.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things about that was like when you brought up that when you were like going through things like negatively inside, you always
Hmm.
still tried to be positive on the outside.
Hmm.
Do you think that that made it so people kind of always just assumed that you were fine
Oh
and they
yeah.
didn't really know how to? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, uh, I mean, literally until my senior year, I don't think anyone really knew I was struggling to the point that I was because the summer before I had went to the doctors and I think I always used to lie on those little quizzes, like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm great. But then the first time I decided to actually be honest, literally straight after, she was like, yeah, you have depression. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I just carried on. I was like, yeah, I figured, like it wasn't a shock to me. I was just like, now there's a name for it, because I had a feeling, but I wasn't trying to deal with that. So all my friends, like, I don't think I even told them about my diagnosis until like a year later. My family, I don't think they even know to this day, actually. Oops. But yeah, like I don't know. I was always like a just suffer in silence type of person. So a lot of people didn't see what I was going through, which a lot of the time made it worse because I felt like if I were to try to vent or like, randomly just kind of go off, they'd be like, where's this coming from? You've been so happy. And it's like, that's what you think. That's what you think. But is that really how it's been?
Wait, so you never told your parents about this? Like they didn't know?
Mm-mm.
Like do you ever like feel the need, or like you don't really care?
Um, I mean, I think now, well, I'd say my depression's more like kind of, I don't know if it's seasonal or situational, but I don't know. When it's good, I'm like, I don't need to tell them. It doesn't matter. But like when it's bad, I just isolate anyway. So I feel like I've just never needed to tell them. I feel like maybe I might, maybe I might, but I don't know if they'd really understand it anyways. It's kind of weird. Like they acknowledge mental health and they'll say like, I'm so sorry for the people who are depressed and stuff like that. But I don't think they really know how to like actually deal with it. So I feel like that's another reason why I didn't want to tell them. Because I'm like worried that either they'll like feel bad because like they didn't catch it, or they just won't know how to work with it, and that's a lot.
Hey, maybe if they watch this or listen to this, they'll understand a little more.
No,
Yeah.
honestly, maybe. That's very true.
Because it's definitely one of those things where like it's tough to get the bigger picture if you're telling them in 2 to 5 minutes, but you're listening to somebody
Right.
talk and like share their stories, and you kind of start to connect the dots. You see like the roots of where this all started. It started in like middle school when you were younger. It
Hmm.
started through like school stress and work stress and all this stuff, and then
Yeah.
it kind of permeated into other aspects of your life. But
Yeah.
like that's very interesting that you could kind of like it's kind of like acting, like putting on a face
Yeah. Yeah.
for when you do you think that you were like different when you were around different people?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see. I feel like the few people who actually knew what I was going through like all the time, I was more expressive about like when I was in a bad mood with, versus like people that I necessarily wasn't close with, like that I didn't talk to all the time. They just saw like strictly the happy version of me, like 90% of the time. There'd be like a few times when like they wouldn't see me at my best. And that's how you know I really had a bad day. Like if you could tell I was having a bad day, then I was having a bad day. But yeah, I think it was, yeah, like you said, it was kind of an act. And I thought about that too. And I was like, so was I just like kind of faking most of my personality for most of my life? But I think there was still me in there. I think that was just kind of me battling like the happiness in me that is innate that wanted to shine through. Like it kind of got its chance to be on stage when I was actually depressed. So I don't know. Like I don't know if it was fake. Like I feel like it was just two different parts of me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting way to put it because like the way I see it is like our society kind of encourages people to be fake, to wear masks, to wear
Yeah.
costumes,
Hmm.
not just on Halloween, like people are wearing costumes every day. I just
Every
think it's
day.
funny like the things that certain people wear, especially celebrities, like these people are just like super fake. And
No, that's so true.
it's funny for me to think about because like I mean, I'm not like famous. I don't have any desire to be, but like the
Hmm.
people that are famous that like could have an impact on the world and like tell people to be authentic are
Yeah.
like the fakest people that you know. And these are the people that everybody looks up to. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you shouldn't look up to celebrity. Well, actually, I am saying that you shouldn't look up to
No, yeah,
celebrities.
yeah,
Like
definitely.
I actually had a post a couple days ago. A lot of people liked it. It was like stop looking to influencers on social media for advice. Like that includes me.
Yes,
Like
yes.
listen to people to get like some bits of wisdom,
Right,
to
right.
get some inspiration, but like trust your intuition. And that's something that school
Absolutely.
doesn't talk about at all. Like have you ever heard anybody in school talk about intuition?
Not at all. Why would they teach me to learn about my intuition? Because my intuition tells me I don't need to work a 9 to 5. But then, the school's like, no, 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 you have to. So they don't want me to know about my intuition. I literally did not tap into my intuition or just even understanding it until again, like in college, freshman year when everything was going to shit. I was like, wait, I can trust myself. Like I know how to make decisions. And it's so crazy because literally once I realized what intuition was and how to use it, it was just so strong. Like I think I'm very naturally intuitive. Like it's crazy. Like it's like a superpower, honestly.
Yeah, and the thing about intuition, which I've realized over the past like 3 or 4 years, is that it's like it's basically the more you listen to it, the louder it's going to get.
Hmm.
The more you ignore it, the softer it's going to get. The
Right,
more
right.
you basically have like the two like voices. You have like the intuition, like the loving wisdom, and
Hmm.
then you have like the ego, which is like the fear, and it's only
Yeah.
telling you lies. But the thing is, the negative stuff is a lot more attractive. It makes you
Hmm.
want to listen to it more. And it
Yeah.
basically tries to force itself into your mind, while the
Hmm.
intuition is basically like, it's going to tell you the truth, but it doesn't really
Right.
care if you listen or not because, like, it's always going to be telling you the truth.
Right,
It's always
right.
going to be telling you that you're loved and that you're whole. But most people don't want to believe that because they
Hmm.
want to believe that there's something wrong with them that they
Yeah.
need. And that's also like with our society that
Right,
you
right.
need to make people feel like they're not worthy so you can sell them products.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely. I think about that all the time. I'm like, wow, most of the stuff that we're buying, we don't need, huh? Like, it's just because they've told us that we need it, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Exactly. And like I think one thing for particular, because like I look at it a different perspective, so it's definitely going to be good to hear your perspective.
Hmm.
Like makeup. Like
Yeah.
I think that people don't need, especially because mostly just girls wear makeup. Like why do you need to wear makeup? Because
Hmm.
somebody told you that you wouldn't look good without it.
Like, I feel like that's such a controversial thing because I know a lot of people want to look at it as like, well, I'm wearing it because I just want to feel empowered to wear it. But like, and don't cancel me. But I agree with you, and I feel like to some degree, at the least, like makeup is not something natural that we've just always had. So if you, I like obviously do it. Like I'm not gonna act like I don't wear makeup. Like if I want to look extra pretty or whatever, I'll. But what is extra pretty? Whatever. But like if I want to, do something fancy, I'll wear my makeup sometimes. But like it's not a necessity. And I feel like if you need to wear makeup every day, or if you feel like you should wear makeup every day, then it might be something deeper going on than just I like makeup. I think it's more of a you feel like you should be wearing makeup, or like you said, society has told you that you're not enough without it. Like unless I don't know, I think it's definitely you can look at it as artistic expression and creativity too, which I'm not trying to take away credit from that. Like I definitely see that part of it too. But my issue with it is just like anything really is when you have a reliance on it, obviously anything in moderation is fine, but if it's like a handicap at some point, you can't leave your house without makeup, you can't go down your street without makeup on, then there's probably something else going on.
Yeah. And like I think it really all comes down to like self-image and like
Right.
our society's standard of beauty, which I think
Hmm.
are very skewed towards like capitalism. Like
Hmm.
they want you to think that you're ugly. And one of the big things of it is that like you see these people in like movies and you're like, "Oh, these people are like super attractive." Well, first
Yeah.
of all, like that's why they're in the movie. And second of all, like they touch up their face with all these special effects and they're wearing makeup. And
Right.
the
Right.
same thing with like Instagram models, like Instagram influencers. They're like, "How do they look like that?"
Hmm.
Photoshop, a lot of
Literally.
makeup, and just like how they're and like why are you gonna compare, like why do you think that there's one standard of beauty?
Right.
And that's
Right.
what people
Right.
don't get, that it's on the inside, it's what you have to offer. You could be like the prettiest face or like nice body, like anything, wear all
Hmm.
this makeup and you have no substance inside you, you have no like
Absolutely.
self-love. And
Right.
how is anybody gonna have a conversation with you? Like that's you defining beauty. We define beauty in such like a limited box and
Yeah.
then try to like package it and sell it to people. That's it.
No,
Like
literally.
that.
It's really crazy to think about it. I don't even know. It's just wild.
Yeah, no, I just thought it'd be interesting to get your perspective because I think
Mhm.
that probably some girls probably like really like it and some people are
Right.
like kind of feel like they're putting on like a mask. I guess you technically are putting on a mask when you put on
Yeah,
makeup.
kind of. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not anti makeup. I'm not here to say women stop wearing makeup. Like, do what you want at the end of the day. If you really feel good wearing it, that's the thing. If you feel good wearing makeup, that's good. But just ask yourself, why do you feel good? Like, why do you feel better when you wear makeup opposed to when you don't? And I'm sure, like, the answer won't be too hard to find. It might be hard to, sit with and accept for yourself, but I'm sure like there's a deeper reason into why you feel the need to wear makeup 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I feel like that's also another thing that people don't do enough and we're not taught to be like introspective. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that people have kind of been forced to do because of the pandemic and
Hmm.
like being by themselves. But like I think that you're probably a pretty introspective person, I assume, right?
Yeah.
And like you're like on like that spiritual path, like what you're on, like you realize that you learn so much about yourself that you never would have known, and you're not
Hmm.
learning it from outside, you're learning it
Absolutely.
from looking from within.
During this pandemic, okay, when we first got sent back from school, I was so upset. Like I was like, no, I don't want to go back home. I want to enjoy this freedom. I want to be on campus, whatever. But it was obviously it's obviously been tough for a lot of people. It's a devastating thing that's happening. But I don't know. For me personally, I'll say that it was very much so a needed time, honestly, because have never done this much introspection on myself. Like it was crazy, like the amount of just thinking about myself I've been doing for the past year, and like not even like in a selfish way, but I mean kind of like, and why not, I don't know, I think you can be selfish sometimes, but just really looking in, like I've been forced to, like everything that I was suppressing was all coming back up because I had nothing else to distract me. Obviously we had classes still on Zoom or whatever, but what was I really doing for anyone? I was in class but not in class, so I was really just thinking about myself for like the past, I've been talking like thinking about myself for the past 12 months, and I've just discovered a lot. I've been discovering how to listen to myself more, how to like I've been figuring out my like symptoms or like my signs of when my depression's coming back or when my anxiety's coming back. I've just become really, really more aware and like self-aware, but also aware of like my surroundings, the people around me. Like back to my intuition, it's I'm starting to understand people more. I'm reading people better. I'm like it's a lot. It's yeah, it's good. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
good.
And like I definitely want to get your perspective on this because I think that like there's been like a rise in mental health issues probably over the past 10 years, maybe over the
Mm-hmm.
past 20 or like as long because they haven't really been tracking it. But then
Right.
all of a sudden you start hearing about it all like the pandemic's causing all these mental health issues and like I want to get your opinion on like my opinion is that it might have caused some mental health issues, like
Mm-hmm.
not being around people, but I
Right.
think it's really that like people didn't notice it until they
Yeah,
had time to sit with themselves and they had
absolutely.
nobody has time to sit with their emotions and think about how they're feeling. And they started thinking about how they're feeling because they had
Mm-hmm.
nothing else to do. And they're like, wow, like there's something missing.
Yeah, no, I literally that that's my opinion too on it. I feel like you said, there's been more of like a spotlight on mental health just because there's been more time to look at it, I guess. But I don't think a lot of problems that are happening right now are anything new. I think it's people are, I mean, maybe they're dealing with it for the first time, which might be new because like after suppressing it for so long, but I'm sure a lot of these things have already existed. Like for me, I can't say that the pandemic made my mental health worse. Honestly, it's been shitty, but like if anything, I've been working more on how to actually cope with it. But like for someone who's never even started that process, it's all happening now. It's all happening during the pandemic. They're just now hitting that point that we have already been through of like, oh my God, how do I like deal with myself and all that stuff. So I think it's been very much of a shock for people to sit with their own feelings, and it's been very difficult.
Yeah. And I also think that like on another way, like kind of like a double-edged sword, like
Hmm.
because I know that like my like introduction to spirituality came from like going through depression and anxiety. So I
Hmm.
feel like kind of the thing that comes out of this is that you have a ton of people going through depression, anxiety now, and
Hmm.
like 2 to 3 years, those are going to be the same people that are like talking about all this like spiritual, like mental
Yeah.
health, emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
self-love. And it's also interesting that I realized that like going through like depression and anxiety, it was literally like one of the worst things that ever happened to me,
Right.
which then led to one of the best things of like me
Yeah.
finding self-love and me
Same.
finding like writing poetry books and meeting all these cool new people and talking on this podcast even like
Hmm.
I never had the confidence to do something like this. And I
Absolutely.
literally like built it because it was literally like I would say like it ignited me. Like it
Hmm.
ignited my inner fire. Like I
Yeah.
was so like apathetic. I like that
Mhm.
word. I don't know what it means,
I
but it,
know.
it
I
it's
d- yeah. That's just like when you just don't feel anything. Like you just don't feel bad or happy. It's just you're just there. You know.
exact like that's perfect. That's a perfect word. I guess that just like popped in my mind. Like I was literally like a robot. I would describe it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't feel my emotions because like in society we're taught that guys aren't supposed to feel emotions because
Right.
feeling emotions is weak. And
Hmm.
actually another episode I did on my podcast was like being vulnerable or like asking for help is a
Hmm.
sign of strength. We're
Yeah.
trained to think that asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Right.
But if you try to do everything alone, you realize, first of all, how lonely that gets, but also, second of all, like how much like more you could do while working with other people, like combining
Absolutely.
abilities.
No, that's definitely true. And like I definitely agree. Like I had zero confidence, like honestly, going into college. So because that was all like, the old depressed me and like just had no self like not even I don't know did I have self-respect? That's a good question. I don't know. But maybe I did, but I know I did not have that much self-love though, at the very least. Like I was like, I guess I'm kind of a cool person. Like I do some good things here and there, but I mean, what do I really have to offer? But as I got more spiritual and I got more into mental health, I was like, no, like I really am awesome. Like, and for me to say that out loud here on a podcast right now, like that's crazy. Like I could not have said this like 2 years ago. Like I genuinely wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, I mean, thanks, I'm cool. Whatever. I mean, don't say that. No, I'm not. But no, like I'm so cool, and like I literally love that. Like what I don't know, and just being able to say that is just like such a blessing in itself, and just it just shows like I don't know. I'm proud to say that because it makes me feel like I've really grown.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's another thing. Like we don't give ourselves enough credit for things, and we don't
Hmm.
show ourselves enough respect. Like we'll all, like we could have done 100 good things and one bad thing, and the one bad thing is all we'll
Hmm.
think about.
That's the one that
And
sticks out.
exactly, that's the one that sticks out. But it's also that like this is another like interesting thing that I've said before that it's like if you want other people to show you more respect, you need to show yourself.
Show
That means you
yourself.
don't show yourself enough respect. And I
Yeah.
know that that was the thing for me 100%. Like I didn't show myself enough respect and I was like looking and didn't show myself enough love and I
Right.
was looking for it around me And when I
Yes,
realized, I was like, wow, like that's not how it works. It's an inside out thing. You build self-respect and
absolutely.
self-love to the point where you have so much self-respect and self-love that it literally like
Hmm.
oozes out. Like your cup is
Yeah,
kind of like your cup is overflowing, that you
absolutely.
just want to share it with everybody. And that's how I feel now. And that's how I know everybody is gonna feel in the future. Maybe not like
Yeah, yeah.
soon, but like that's
Eventually. That's the big hope. Like, and I really want that for people because, like you said, yeah, like I don't think I did, to answer the question that I just asked myself. I don't think I did have self-respect because self-respect is also just knowing your boundaries, knowing like it's what you allow people to do to you, to do like in your presence, whatever. And I literally did not have any of that. Like I was looking back at like a lot of failed friendships I've had, and not to be cocky, but a lot of them weren't like they didn't end because of me, you know what I mean? But in a way, like I remember when I was talking to someone, I was venting, and like he's also like more like on the spiritual side and like more like awake and whatever, or like mentally aware and stuff. So he was like, but in a way it seems like you're going through the same thing, so like what do you have to do with this? And I was like, me? I was like, I didn't do anything to anyone. But then I was like, wait, I didn't do anything to anyone else, but I keep allowing the same patterns to happen. I keep allowing the same type of people to enter my life, and it's me. Like it is me because I wasn't respecting myself enough to know when someone does this to you, you call it out immediately. Don't let them keep doing it, and then wait 2 years down the line to address it. And then it was funny because as I started to gain more self-respect and I started to want to make my boundaries more known, a lot of people didn't like that, and I was like, whoa. Okay, like, and I guess it was just because people were used to the old version of me that didn't speak up for myself and just took whatever. But that's not me anymore, and like that hasn't been me for like the past year. So that's like, I don't know, I'm really proud of that. And yeah, it definitely shows, like, I feel like who's real, and it shows you who really wants to be in your life for the right reasons. And it's good. I don't know, when you respect yourself, it just makes a lot of things clearer.
yeah, and it's also a big thing about like wanting to. I was like the biggest person, like wanting to blame everybody for other things about how I was feeling.
Yeah,
And the thing I realized about that, like, first of all, not taking responsibility, you're literally giving your power away to other people,
yeah,
and your power is like seeking validation from without instead of seeking it from within.
right,
Oh, it's like I can't feel worthy unless somebody else tells me that I'm worthy. Like, no, I can tell
exactly.
myself that I'm worthy right now. And obviously, I don't want to oversimplify that because I know that if I were to tell myself that I was worthy when I was going through depression and anxiety, I wouldn't have believed it.
At all.
I had to do some things, accomplish some things, like meditate, like learn how to love myself. But
Hmm.
now when I say it, I know that it's true because
Right.
it always is true. You always are worthy. You're always whole and complete, but it's whether you get to the point where you can actually believe that. And that's where the true power comes
Absolutely.
from.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think when you, like you said, like when you realize, what you deserve and all that stuff, you get more empowered by it, and it's a really a beautiful thing. And I want a lot of people to experience that. So like you said, we need to start, implementing these types of instructions into like, elementary schools, and get like the younger kids like just know how to be with yourself and know how to, be happy with yourself. Like that starts when you're young, because if I had much more self-love when I was younger, I would not have grown up as like confused as I was. Like I was starting my identity crisis started like my freshman year of high school. Like I remember I got to high school and I was just like, oh my God, like I don't know who I am. Like I'm just kind of, like you said, a robot. Like I was just kind of going through the motions. And like a lot of people were just like, well, I mean, I don't know, like you gotta take the time to figure it out. And I was like, well, how? Like I don't know how to do this. Like, and it took me another 4 years before I was actually like able to realize that I only had the answers. No one could tell me what I was supposed to do, like, or how to love myself or whatever. Like it was all just about me, like finding out how to figure out who I am, basically.
Yeah. And like definitely school will not tell you who you are. It won't even help you find out. Hopefully in
Mm,
the future it will. Maybe they'll
right.
encourage like something like journaling. Like
Hmm.
have you done journaling a lot in your journey as well?
I've definitely been journaling a lot. I do like regular just journaling about my day, and also like I have like a manifest journal. So like I like kind of write whatever I want to come into fruition for me. But yeah, just writing down things. I write down things either in my notebook. I prefer that because it just feels better. But a lot of the time, I just get like random thoughts and I'll just put them in my notes really quickly. It's definitely really helpful because I get to go back and look at them and just kind of see where my thought process was. And also, I'm just constantly thinking 100 things at a time. So just being able to write it all out is definitely helpful.
Yeah, like journaling was one of the things like I always talk about, like completely changed my life, changed. I read this book called The Self-Love Experiment, which
Mhm.
basically like talked about going on your own self-love experiment
Mhm.
and treating it exactly like that, like an experiment. Like you don't
Yeah.
know like who you are, what you want to do. So it ended up just turning into like me doing a journal, and it ended up being like a 365 page like book of
Yeah.
like my thoughts and emotions. And what came out of that was that I started like journaling a lot in poetry, and I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
I really like doing this. Like this is a way that I can express my emotions and
Mhm.
express truths and then share it with other people. So then that ended up turning into like me writing poetry books, and like I love
Yeah.
that, which then turned more into like talking about mental health and self-love and emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
because like that's what I write about. And a lot of people write about stuff like that, but I obviously know that I'm different, but I don't want to say better or worse
No,
because
no, I
it's
get
very
it. Go
subjective.
ahead.
It's very
Yeah.
subjective, but like I also know that like from reading like a lot of like the, I don't know if you read any like the best-selling poetry books, like I've noticed that they're very shallow. Like they're very, and it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
I can tell these people aren't really like tapped in. Like not
Yeah,
even to
yeah.
sound like
No, no, I
they're not
agree. I
tapped
agree.
in. They're not tapped in within them. And like,
Mhm.
everybody's, and they write for a certain audience. They write for like older women, but
Right,
like
right.
I'm writing to like inspire like younger people and like
Mhm.
get into that, because I noticed that a lot of the stuff that we read in like high school like is complete crap. Like we're reading
Absolutely.
Shakespeare, Ketchup. Like, have you read any good books on your journey that you'd like to
Yeah,
share? I'm always open.
I was just gonna say, the best book I've ever read was by like this random YouTuber I found. And again, I believe in divine timing so much because there's been so many situations where like things have just happened right when I needed them. So like I found this YouTuber and she was talking about like her journey, and because like she used to be religious, but then she realized she wasn't, and she like resonated more with spirituality. And I was like watching her channel, and then she talked about a book that she had. And like I just felt so compelled to buy it. So I bought it literally off of Amazon for like $7. And it was called I think it's The Journey to Finding You or something. And like she wrote like on the book, it's this is not a poetry book, but like when you read it, it's so, I don't know, it's literally so simple, but it was just so like I could feel that she really meant it what she was writing, you know what I mean? And it really helped me like just realize a lot of things I was already saying to myself, but sometimes you need to like kind of hear it again from someone else, or not even that, but just hearing it a different way. So when I read that book, I was like, okay, this is hitting. Like I like this. So I can send you the link if you want me to. I think it was really good. I liked it a lot.
What's the YouTuber's name? I'm
I
curious.
I think her channel is called like Nagad of the Earth, Nagad, I think, of the Earth. So yeah, I think that's her channel.
And like she wrote the book, or was somebody else's book?
She wrote the book.
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I'm always just looking for like new books to read, like new like channels to watch. I want to get
Hmm.
your perspective. Do you watch any like spiritual YouTubers or like emotional intelligence, mental health, self-love YouTubers?
I don't really. I watch like spiritual, but that's more for like meditating stuff or like card readings type stuff. But I don't really have any like specific YouTubers that like talk about mental health explicitly. I mean, not explicitly, but exclusively.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite YouTubers, her name is Kai Foster. She does talk about like a lot of like real shit in general. Like it's not always mental health specific, but recently at least she's really been putting out a lot of mental health stuff, talking about her own experiences with mental health, or just like she did like a lot of unpopular opinion videos too, and like a lot of like she was a lot of my inspiration, and she just was really honest. She talked about her hatred for the school system. She talked about how it didn't work for her, and like it was just so like raw and honest, and I really appreciate her for that. Like I really, yeah, I genuinely love her as like a YouTuber.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
I've also noticed that like I've found like some like YouTubers over the years who have like really like vibed with me like at the certain point that I was at on my journey. So
Hmm.
like I'll share them. Like I'll definitely make a video sometime in the future talking more in depth. But like one of them is like actualize.org, and like this guy just has like 2 hour videos on like the most ridiculous topics like self love, like just such crazy stuff.
Hmm.
But those are also a little harder to watch because you gotta spend the 2 hours. But like somebody
Right.
like I found out this guy Foster eBay. I don't know if you ever
Hmm.
heard of him. I
Hmm.
found out about him during the quarantine. Like it got recommended to me, and like I got super into his stuff. Like loved it. But pretty much the only person I watch on YouTube now is this guy Spiritual So. I don't
Hmm.
know if you heard of him, but like I love
Hmm.
this guy. This guy is just like
Really.
such. This guy is just like such a beauty. I think you would love it also. Just like he literally has like the lowest quality production. It's literally just like him and
Yeah,
like his
yeah.
it's him and like his vertical phone, and just like talking into it, talking about like loving yourself and like
Really.
meditating, and like being in nature. I just love it. And
Okay, send that my way. I'll
yeah,
look into him.
I'll be sure to send you a link because like I just know that like I'll just like be eating lunch and watching like one of his like 10-minute videos. Like his
Yeah,
videos are like 10 to 15 minutes, and like he's at the exact point where like I'm at on this journey. It's just nice to know that like there are
yeah,
other people that like maybe not think the exact same, but like are on a similar path
similar.
and doing it
Mm-hmm.
a little differently, which is like the same with us. And I also
Mm-hmm.
think that like, do you think that your like mental health journey would have been different if you had had like maybe a group of like 9 people that were all going through the same thing as you, that you could have like shared things about and like talked
Yeah.
to, instead of like keeping it all to yourself?
Definitely, because like even I mean, I think it's part of my personality too, but also how I grew up, like the not wanting to really share that much about myself and stuff. But I feel like if I was in a group of people that I knew were going through really similar situations, or at least were in the similar mindsets of me, and like we could relate really well, I think that would have helped me one feel comfortable enough to like share what I was really going through, and like just be I don't know, have that like kind of confirmation or like that comfort of knowing that other people are going through what I was going through too.
Yeah, exactly. And like when people don't speak up about these things, when they don't share,
Hmm.
then it's going to keep the illusion that, oh, nobody goes through these
Right,
things.
right. You're all
But
alone.
like going through these things doesn't make you like any less perfect than you are. Like everybody is perfect exactly as they are. And like people don't like to hear that. They're like, oh, like
Mhm.
that's cliche, but like it's only
Right.
cliche because it's so true that people keep repeating it
Exactly.
because you don't believe it. And
Right.
I'm gonna have to keep repeating it and telling you how beautiful you are and like perfect you are, because if I don't, who else is gonna tell you that? The school system's not gonna tell you
They're
that.
not.
Your teachers aren't gonna tell you that, because that's something that's like a taboo subject.
Right.
We don't want to build people up because what are their parents supposed to do it? What if their parents
Right.
didn't learn emotional intelligence because they weren't taught it in school?
Exactly.
And then, as you
Exactly.
said, like the cycle just repeats. And like,
Yeah,
but I'm very confident that at this point, at this juncture, 2021, we're gonna break the cycle because there are
I
more
think so.
people that are speaking up, like me and you, and like,
Hmm.
so what is your major? Are you a psychology major?
Psychology major. Hmm.
So what is your, obviously, so what are you, a sophomore or freshman?
I'm a
Sophomore?
sophomore.
So
Hmm.
like you probably don't know like obviously yet, but like what do you
Hmm.
think like at this point in your life, like what's like your dream job or like your dream
Dream.
business if you want to start your own
Yeah.
business?
So when I went into college, I was like, I'm gonna become a therapist. You know, that's I'm good at helping people. People say I'm good at giving advice. That's like my thing, right? But then when I got to school, I realized that there was number one, like so much that I could do with psychology. There's so many options. So I realized I couldn't just really tie myself down to one. So honestly, the way like I would envision my future, it's probably not going to sound ideal to a lot of people or like realistic, but I don't know. I think I'm going to have to make it work for myself because I can't see myself doing it any other way. But I want to do multiple things. I don't want to see myself just tied down to one thing, but my ultimate dream would be to be able to start some type of nonprofit organization where I made like mental health like accessible in schools early on, either free or very, very, very like low cost. Free would be like the perfect scenario, but something like that where I could either implement like therapy like into the schools or something like you said, where you said like just making like I don't know, emotional well-being classes mandatory in schools, you know, like that's like my ultimate dream to do something like that.
That's awesome. We'll definitely have to work together. Our paths will be
Yeah.
crossed because like my goal is basically like the same thing. Like I want to like have these things like mental health, emotional intelligence, self-love like taught in schools. So like I'll probably
Hmm.
try to start with like colleges and then work
Right.
down to high school, middle school, elementary
That's
school.
smart.
I think middle school is probably the most important place to start, so
Right.
I might start there. But I
Hmm.
also realize that like if I'm unsuccessful about convincing these people that like this is something that you need to be teaching in school, I'll just start
Hmm.
my own school. I mean, I've kind of
That's
already done
fair.
that. I've kind of already done that, like doing it online and like doing it through
Yeah.
like TikTok, YouTube. But like another
Hmm.
thing I realized is that like people, like if you're getting lectured about this stuff in school, it might not have as big of an impact as if like
Absolutely, that's true.
you're on your free time and you're on TikTok and you see me talk about it and you're like, oh, like I
Right.
come to this because I like to, because this is my free time. But I
Right.
also do think that there are ways that, another huge thing is that like education is supposed to be entertaining. Our school
Hmm.
system has it all backwards. There
Yeah.
are ways that you can make these subjects entertaining. You can add music into it, magical melodies. You can add
Hmm.
like acting, things like that, and making people creative
A
and
lot of people don't want to put that time in to do that though.
having people exact, and having people just like express themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a huge thing that I'm going to try to do. But obviously, like if I'm not able to implement it into the school system, like my only other option is to start my
Do
own
it on your
school.
own. Yeah.
And like I'm fine either way. Like I've already seen the impact that I've had. Like I've had a larger impact this year since I came back on social media than like
Mm-hmm.
I ever could have imagined. Like
Yeah.
my goal was to like share my poetry with 100,000 people at the beginning of the year, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how am I going to do that? Like
Right.
that's such a big goal, and now I've done that in like probably 2 or 3 months, which is like
Wow.
crazy. But it also shows me that like there's a niche, like there's a
Yeah.
demographic for this like
Mm-hmm.
message, but also like this is something that there are going to be more people doing, and I want to
Absolutely.
inspire other people to talk about this because I would love it. So I think social media is like 90% negativity. I
Mm-hmm.
would love it to maybe one day only be 80%
The
negativity
only,
because
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. I agree with that 100%. First of all, congrats on that. Like that's a big deal. Like I support all that 100%. But no, I definitely agree. Like if it's not gonna be like accepted into like what the mainstream idea is, then like you said, we might have to just do it on our own because there's definitely a need for it. And I think that's why I wanted to start my YouTube channel too, because like I know I have a lot of good information that like I can give to people, and it felt almost wrong to just hold that in for myself. Like I have so many ideas and thoughts. I feel like my in a way, then cliche way to say it, my purpose would be to share that. So, like along with wanting to like develop like the nonprofit and all that stuff, like I think even just through my YouTube channel, like I'm not saying fame is like the desire, like, but just being able, it's not even fame itself. It's just being able to spread my word with as many people as possible. Because I do want, like I said, I want to start talking about like more like serious things and whatnot. And I feel like just having those conversations, making it more normalized and just being able to incorporate that into people's lives in a non structural school setting is really important because like you said, it does make it more enjoyable and more digestible when you're not just learning about it in a classroom setting. So I really
yeah,
hope that I can touch people through that.
I agree 100%. And it's also the fact that like with my channel, like with my like podcast and all this
Hmm.
stuff, like I don't want to be like lecturing in a sense. Like I don't want to be teaching you about it. I want to be sharing my experiences and
Yeah.
how I did it to then
Hmm.
people could be like, oh, like cold showers worked for him. I never
Right,
thought I
right.
could do cold showers. Maybe I'm gonna try a cold shower and things like that. And like it's very relatable because if somebody's in the exact same position that I was in, they could be
Hmm.
like, wow, like it only took him like 2 or 3 years of like doing this to the point where like he's like
Right,
found
right.
self-love, and like I didn't think it was possible. But knowing that somebody like me that had no self-love now
Hmm.
has found unconditional self-love, like I just feel like that's inspiring to people, and maybe to the point where like I could actually like start like building like a curriculum or like a course or something like that.
Right, right. I agree with that
That'll
100%.
be interesting. We
Hmm.
definitely got to collab
No,
on some YouTube
honestly,
videos sometime.
yeah, definitely. I'd love to have you on there.
I liked it. I noticed that you got some good editing techniques. I'll definitely have to get those from
Thank
you.
you.
I
I
just put
got
like
you.
zero I just put like zero time into the editing and stuff because I just wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
like I just wanted to be like me just like spewing stuff and
Just
like
straight out there. Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. I think it also like depend on the type of video I'm making. I might put more work into the editing, like, but like if I'm having a casual talk, probably less or whatever. Like I honestly think as I do more like just like sit down personal talks, it'll probably just be less editing because I'm actually maybe I don't know. We'll see. Like maybe just to keep like the comedy up or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's also low key my perfectionism. I'm like, I have to cut out every single issue.
yeah.
But sometimes it's better to leave it honestly just untouched. That's better.
Like that's the thing, like it definitely depends like your personal brand. Like I just know me,
Hmm.
like authenticity, like I want it to be my number one thing.
Right, right,
I
right.
want you to see it all, and like I definitely know that like my content isn't perfect at all. I know that there are flaws, but I also know that I like with the amount of quantity I'm putting out, like it
Right,
gets
right.
better. Like your 100th video is going to be better than your first one. and like
Of course,
and
yeah.
like if you've ever heard the term, I think it's like paralysis in perfection or something like that. Like
Hmm.
you don't move because you want it to be
You want it to be
perfect
perfect,
when
yeah.
perfect is just an illusion. It's like, how are
Hmm.
you going to know if something's perfect if you've never shown anybody? And like
Literally.
you might not put out a video, you're like, my audience won't like this, but like how do you know? Like you're not your audience.
Exactly, exactly. It's all about kind of just trying out different things, testing them out. But like again, just always trying to be authentic with it. It's like I feel like you can't really go wrong with being truthful and just being transparent. Like that's the best type of content. Like, I don't know, if I can see that you're literally just being yourself and you're trying to show me your true self without trying to put it under a filter, put it under, a lot of other stuff and hiding it behind the editing, then I think that's just as good. I think that's raw and I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like me at this point. So like I'm trying to put
Hmm.
out like a ton of content. So like I
Yeah,
can't I
yeah.
can't spend like a ton of time like
Right,
editing.
right,
Like
right.
maybe I'll get it to some point, knock on wood, in the future where I could have somebody like editing for me and like,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that's also like far off in the distance. But I'm
Mm,
definitely just like excited with the direction it's going in. Like just like building a small following,
absolutely.
but
Right.
but also like what really is small, because like I'm not comparing myself to like other YouTubers. Like
Hmm.
I think I have like about over 50 subscribers now, and like somebody could look at other and be like, oh, that person has like 100,000. Like I don't really care.
Right.
I know at the beginning of the year I had 18. So
I was literally thinking about that yesterday. I was talking to my little sister and like I was looking at my 104 subscribers right now, I think is where we're at. And I was like, wow, I remember I was like, I used to have like 17 and I was so happy. I remember like I had milestones before even getting to 100 that I was like so excited about. When I hit like 36, I remember that number for some reason. I don't know why, but I was so excited. I was like, wow, I have 36 followers. And then now I have 100. So I'm like, it's steadily growing and like I love that. Also, I haven't put out content in a while just because school was stressing me out and stuff, but ready to get back on that. But yeah, just I mean, like you said, what is small? It's all about reaching someone. Like, and that's all I wanted. I said as long as one person watches my video actually and just get something from it, that's enough for me.
yeah, exactly. And like I always say this, but like you can't get negative views on a video. Like there's always going to
Right.
be somebody who watches it. And like I just know, like I post like the same content on like TikTok and
Hmm.
Instagram, and it's just like the same thing, but just for the and Pinterest and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But like I noticed that like if I post the video on YouTube, it'll get like 3 views. I post it on
Hmm.
TikTok, it's gonna get at least 150 to 200 views.
Right, right,
So it's
right.
like not putting in any more work. It's the same content, but they're
Exactly.
they're pushing it to more people, and especially TikTok. That's kind of like the
Hmm.
demographic I'm looking for, like the
Yeah,
middle school kids, like 14 to
that's
18.
true. That's
Actually,
true.
what is middle school? 12 to 18? No, 12, 12 to
Middle school,
15.
12 to like 14, maybe.
12 to 14. Yeah, and I guess high
Yeah.
school also, because
Mhm.
like, but I think middle school is definitely the perfect place for like emotional intelligence and all this stuff, because like
Yeah.
that's where like that's where I know my issues kind of started, and like that's
Same.
where I feel like pretty much everybody's issues. I guess it has a lot to do with
Hmm.
like going through puberty and like all that
Right,
stuff.
right, right.
But again, like you're taught about like the biological stuff that has to do with that,
Not
but
the
you're not
mental.
really taught about the mental stuff that has to do with that, which is a
Like I'm
shame.
learning about the mental parts of adolescence through my adolescent psychology class right now. But I'm like, I'm 20 now, so that doesn't really help me. I mean, it's good to know. So like I can help educate like the future generations and help them through that and stuff. But that would have been nice to know that it was going to be a little hard, before going into it or as I was going through it, just, hey guys, this is what's going on. So you might be feeling like this sometimes. You might feel a little bit extra sad or emotional. I don't know, whatever. Maybe things are happening. You're just like, let's just teach you how to work with it and process it and cope with it, as we've been saying this whole time.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's any classes that you've taken? You might not have like the certain perspective on it now, but like, do you feel like there's any classes that you've taken in college yet so far that have been like life changing? Like you're so glad that you took that?
Mhm. Um, Life changing. Right now, I think my personality one is I feel like it might be one of those because as I've like just been doing all the work and like reading and stuff, I'm realizing that we're really so complex, like as people, and it's just so I don't know, it's interesting to see how like much of our personality comes from whether it's biology, influence, blah, blah, blah. And it's interesting to see how we form our personas and how we become who we are through like stuff like that, which is similar to my social psych class that I took last semester, which I think that one was really good. We learned a lot like just about how like with the interactions of people, which is what social psych was. And I realized again, like this is something that a lot of people should be taking because it's just so eye-opening. Like you realize so many little things that's like, oh, that's why people do this in certain situations, or sometimes I feel like this because of that. Like it's just sometimes having a term for it is helpful. It really is. And just being able to like know what you're like going through and identify that is so important. Like I don't know, there's so much I've learned in social psych that's just taught me like basically yeah, don't be an asshole to people because you really never know what people are going through. A lot of people like are suffering in silence, or they do this because of this. A lot of stuff, everything is connected basically, and a lot of stuff stems from other stuff, which is something that I've always believed, which is why I can say that I've always kind of been more kind and stuff like that to people, because I don't know, there's just no benefit in being mean to people, and also it's just damn, like the amount of stuff people can go through and not like tell you, like, and then maybe they have a bad day, they treat you a certain way. I try to be conscious not to like treat people the way they treat me all the time, because sometimes that's just the best that they can do with what they have. That doesn't mean that I need to stoop down to their energy level, their vibration, and vibrate at that energy, you know. You
Yeah.
gotta send out that love that we were talking about earlier.
I like that you brought that up because like this is something that definitely you would resonate with, but like a lot of people when they hear me say this that like everything is connected, like everybody is connected, like we're literally all like the
Mm-hmm.
same one, like you know they
Yeah.
call it like light or like love, like everything's
Right.
interconnected. And the point is that like if you hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that if you believe in separateness and if you believe that you're separate from that person and you hurt them, it may not hurt you as instantly because you're not aware of it, but deep down it's going to be hurting, and again it's going to be building up until the point where like you
Mm-hmm.
realize like wow, like that person is me also and I just hurt them, and then
Yeah.
you know over the years you'll start to let it all out probably through tears. I think the
Mm-hmm.
funny thing is also like this is completely off topic, but like just
Mm.
like crying has a real stigma in our society. Like we think
Yes.
that,
Oh
and
my God.
I realized that because like I don't think I cried for the first like 18 years. Like I was
Wow.
taught that you're not supposed to like do
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
and I've just realized that like it's such a great way. Like I think it like resets your emotions
Yeah,
in a
no,
way.
I like for a while it was literally like I cried like once a year. Like I just let out everything and then like, okay, time to reset. Like no more emotions, shut down for the rest of the year. But yeah, definitely as I've gotten more into like, you know, my own well-being, I've learned that it's okay to cry. First of all, it feels good to cry. Like it's really, I don't know, like you said, it's refreshing. Like you kind of get it out, your system kind of get to like because you can't always express your emotions like in every way all the time. Like maybe it's the middle of the night and you can't necessarily bust out like a, you know, I don't know, like a sound, a keyboard to play piano on, or you don't have like your easel to paint whatever, but just cry, you know, just let that out, just let that out. It's a physical way, and I feel like it just relaxes you and takes out some of that tension. And
Yeah.
I really wish people did not think a natural process of crying was so like, I don't know, weak or whatever. Like it's literally just natural.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're taught that like there's something wrong with crying, and like there's nothing wrong with like crying. There's nothing wrong with like feeling negative emotions, but there is
Hmm.
something wrong with holding it in because
Absolutely.
again, like it's just gonna accumulate over time to the point where like it builds up and it becomes so overwhelming to the point
Hmm.
where you gotta like do something about it that you'll
Right.
never be able to do about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
I just think that I think it's funny and sad at the same time because like
Yeah.
I know that like when I said like when I'm meditating like crying tears of joy, like at the beginning I was like is this something like wrong with me, and then
Yeah.
I was starting to realize like wow, like no, like this is what happens when like you're just like so happy that like it's
Hmm.
just like a natural like reaction, and
I've
it's just
never
like
cried meditating, but I want to so bad. Like I remember my friend told me that like she meditated and then like that was the first time she had cried, and I was like, wow, okay. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know. Sounds good.
no, it is awesome. And it's also just like at the point where like you feel like this sense of like stillness and like silence, and like that's where like it all comes like when I say like it all, like it's just so hard to describe, but like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I and like I was in this exact room, I think it was like Friday,
Hmm.
and I was just like meditating and like literally I gotta try to find the words for it,
We
but
can't even
it was
describe
kind of
it.
just like everything was just like around me and
Hmm.
inside me. Like it was just like
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was just like extending everywhere. And like when I say it, like you could put a
Like
word on it,
the
like love,
energy or the, yeah,
yeah,
like uh
like love, light, energy.
mhm.
Um, it's actually interesting I brought that up. I actually have you ever heard of the law of one?
No.
All right, I'll definitely got to send you this.
Okay.
Um, I found out about this book through like I think it was Aaron Dowdy, who's like a YouTuber,
Mhm.
and it's the craziest stuff I've ever read in my life,
Really?
and I think you would truly enjoy it. So the thing is, like, there's 5 books,
Mhm.
but you can read it all online for free. So like you don't even,
Oh.
I just bought the books because like I like physical copies of books, but
Hmm.
like
Yeah, same.
the stuff that they're talking about, it's basically like, do you know what like channeling is?
Kind of like I feel like
It's kind of
what is
like you're channeling like another entity or another like
oh yeah.
and
Hmm.
like I never used to like believe in that stuff.
Hmm.
And then so like this book is that like that this woman is like channeling like Ra. And like have you heard of the
Hmm.
name like Ra before from like ancient Egypt? Like it's one of
Yeah.
things like that.
Hmm.
So like Ra is
Yeah.
apparently like this like interdimensional like
Hmm.
alien species or whatever you want to call them, anything that makes
Yeah.
sense to you. But
Hmm.
they're just like teaching what they call the law of one.
Okay.
And it's just like, and I didn't believe in the stuff beforehand, like all this
Hmm.
channeling stuff. And then you just hear the information that comes. And like, first of all, like, I don't really care where this information came from because it's so life
It's
changing,
so
so
yeah.
like eye opening, but also like, no, like this stuff is so like smart and like complex. It couldn't have come from a human.
That's true. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. I feel like a lot of things like I didn't really believe in like astrology and stuff like that. Like I was honestly super like I made fun of it, like honestly on the low. But then when like I realized like I don't know, first of all, I stopped being so closed-minded and I that was another thing that came with me being more spiritual and more awake and everything like that. Like I got more open-minded and I stopped saying, well, that's wrong. Like I said, the only truth is that there is no truth, and like that's a big thing about for me now. So yeah, I got into astrology and I was like, oh wait, this is resonating, like I like it. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Like just whatever resonates with you and whatever, like, you like whatever feels right to you.
That's funny that you bring that up because I didn't used to believe in astrology either until they talked about it in the book. And
Oh
I was like,
really?
and they talked, do you know what the tarot is or like the tarot cards?
Yeah. Hmm.
So like I didn't know anything about that either. And they were talking about that also. And they're talking about how like that and astrology are two different ways to talk about like the archetypal mind, which is basically like you probably heard about like the archetypes like Joseph Campbell, like the
Yeah.
hero's journey, like, all that
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
And it started talking about that, and I was like, damn, like this stuff gets deep.
It
Like
gets deep.
it
It's a
gets
lot. It's such a hole you can fall in so quickly. But like I love that. I don't know. I think it's also just being able to ground yourself. Like it can get overwhelming, but I think as long as you just kind of return back to yourself and you're like, well, you know, I'll take everything as it is. Like it's just like don't stress it too much, but it's good to know, but don't stress yourself out trying to be like, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like don't lose yourself in it. Like it's all
yeah,
about finding yourself. So you gotta make sure you don't get to that point, I guess.
exactly. And like I'm not at the point where like I don't believe in like horoscopes or any of that stuff. Like I
Hmm.
honestly don't really know what it is, so I don't want
Hmm.
to be too close minded to it. But like
Right.
I just remember like putting my like birth date or like whatever it is, like
Hmm.
your like location of birth into like one of
Yeah.
those
You
things,
found your chart.
and it like tells you about your entire life. And like I read this like 30-page thing, and I was just like, wow, like do they
Accurate, right?
I was like, is every like how like what?
Yeah, no, I remember when I did mine. That was like one of the biggest selling points for me because like I was like, there's no way. I put in my birth time and everything. I was reading, I was like, it's looking a little accurate over here. Like I was like, whoa, this is who's been watching me? This is you got me. Like where the camera is. Like it was so accurate. I was honestly mind blown. I was like, see now, why didn't I just at least open myself up to the idea
Yeah,
originally?
it's also another thing that like there are so many things that influence you that you're
Mhm.
not aware of. And
That's true.
it's definitely better to be aware of them. So like one thing that influences you that you're not aware of is like your phone. Like
Hmm.
people, we're so addicted to our phones right now. We're basically like unconscious that like same thing with social media. But on a larger scale, like the planets, like
Hmm.
the moon, like
Yeah.
the fact that the moon and like all the phases of the moon and like the moon affects the tides and like
Yeah.
waves, and
Mhm.
our bodies are 60 to 70% water.
Like I thought that was like such a dumb idea. I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Like we're humans, blah blah. But that's exactly why. Like, and everything's connected, and like we're humans, we have water in us, blah blah blah. Like you can't just dismiss it so easily and be like, well, that's false. Like I don't know. I think there's something to being open that just is rewarding in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I used to be like definitely a very closed-minded person. Like I was the type of person that was like I know it all, like there's nothing more
Same.
to know. And
Hmm.
like that was like 3 years ago. I didn't read any books, like didn't meditate anything. And now I've
Hmm.
like read all these books and like meditated. And like
Hmm.
I would say I know like a million times more than I did, but I literally know that I know nothing because there's
Yeah,
infinite knowledge. Like you're never gonna stop learning and growing. That was another episode I
literally.
made. Like you're never going to stop. And that's also another
Mhm.
thing that like the school system doesn't, they try to make it seem like, oh, if you know this, then like you know it all.
Yeah, yeah, like, and I feel like that's kind of how like this college is kind of branded too. It's like, once you complete that, then like all the ultimate knowledge. Like then you'll really be ready for life. And it's like, when are you ready for life? Life is happening right now. Do you know? Like, I don't know. I think that's like that feeling of being a robot. I feel like the school system is so like you're just go through the process. It's very and like I mean, wasn't it like created like, during the industrial times or something like that? Like
Yeah.
so it was created with the purpose to like just produce a lot of people with the same thinking and like the same goals and stuff like that. And I don't know, like there's just not a lot of learning how to actually live your life in school. It's more about preparing you for work. And that's not the only aspect to life. I don't think that's even an aspect of life that is natural. Like I think you have to work, obviously, like like back in the day, they were hunting and gathering and stuff like that. I said hunting? Hunting. Yeah, hunting and gathering. But I don't know. Like I just feel like we're in a society right now. Like it's too late to completely just go back and start over, obviously. But I think there's a lot of changes that can be made to make life more fulfilling and make it more of a life than just a process. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And like I agree 100%. Like one of the big arguments, because I always like to think about like the people who would like detract from this, they're like, well, in school they shouldn't teach you how to live your life and like like to find your purpose, because like that's not what school's for. Like they can't tell you
Hmm.
that. Like yeah, they can't tell you that, but they can encourage you to start journaling.
Right,
They could,
right.
they could be like, all right, everybody for the next 20 minutes like write about like your dreams and like goals
Hmm.
that you have and like passions and hobbies. And then
Right.
maybe you start writing and you're like, wow, like I don't have any hobbies, like don't have any passions. Like
Hmm.
maybe I should try like playing sports or playing the
Yeah.
piano or singing. And I didn't do any of like the only thing I did when I was young was like sports. And like
Hmm.
sports are fun and all, but like at a certain point, like when I get to college, you stop playing them because like you're not like on the college team anymore. And
Hmm.
I was never into like art or like music or like poetry.
Hmm.
And I literally sat down one day and was like, well, if time or money was like no objective, if I had all
Hmm.
the time, money in the world, what would I be doing right now?
Hmm.
I'd be like making art, playing
Hmm.
music, writing poetry.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, why can't I do that right now? So I bought like
Right.
I bought a ukulele, I bought like a mini
Same.
keyboard, and like you have a uke?
Yeah, I do.
Love that. Do you play it all like for your
I
channel?
play not for my channel. I haven't. Like I'm like very beginner, but I started. I mean, I bought it like 2 years ago, but I've only played it a few times just because time. Again, not really always having that time. But I definitely feel you though, like about just getting hobbies and stuff like that. Like especially like this past year, I've just been randomly just picking up like whatever seems interesting. I'm doing it. Like I remember I don't even know. I probably watched like a video of someone like on a skateboard or something, and I was like, I want a skateboard. Like, I mean, I didn't end up getting one because just like my like town's like physical condition, but I got a longboard, and I've been longboarding ever since. I literally just impulsively bought it off of Amazon, and I just like now I'm just doing whatever like feels good. Like I never really used to like art, like physical, like drawing art, because I just felt like I wasn't good at it, like or again my perfectionism sometimes would kind of show through and I'm like I need to make it perfect, but now that I'm realizing that art is so not about perfect at all, it's not about perfectionism at all. Like now I'm trying to get back into it and I'm realizing like it can be like drawing used to be stressful for me, like that's not something that people usually say, but yeah, now it's just like fun. Like I just can just draw whatever, just free draw, free write, poetry too. I used to be into it and then I kind of stopped, and then now I'm back into it again. Yeah, music just in general. Like one thing about music though, I feel like when I wanted to like, because piano was the first instrument I think I started. No, that's a lie. Saxophone was. And as much as I loved playing saxophone, I loved being in band all throughout school. I remember someone told me like, and this is like someone I mentioned earlier too, but he was saying how for him, band used to feel kind of constricting because it was just playing other people's music, not really making his own. And I didn't really get that, but now I do get that. I'm like, I see again, like even with the arts, it was still some type of restriction on it. With art projects, it was about being able to do this perfectly or something like that. And I guess I wasn't able to separate like just art for fun versus like art for like a grade. You know what I mean? I don't know. I
Yeah.
said a lot, but yeah, like
Can you still hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
All right, that's good because like I don't know why like when you were talking like my headphones like cut out and like now it's like playing through, which is like better honestly. But
Oh, really?
I agree with what you said because like that's another thing about the school system. Like they're trying to teach people to be perfectionists. Like you need to get like a 9 out of 10 to get an A- in a class, which is like
Right.
not only like
standards, but like where is that leading you to? It's leading you to that you're afraid to make mistakes and you're afraid to fail, when the only
Exactly.
failure is that not learning from your mistakes. Like if you make a
Yep.
mistake and learn from it, that's not a failure, that's just a lesson. But that's not, we're
Exactly.
not taught that, which is like another funny. I honestly think it's funny at this point. Like I used to be cynical about it,
Yeah.
but like you gotta kind
Mhm.
of just learn to laugh at these things. And
Yeah. Or you'll go crazy. Like if you just keep like, I don't know, it's just gonna be like really upsetting. Like you just have to, I don't know, I guess you just laugh about it, like you said.
I don't know why now the headphones are back on. All right. I mean,
We're back on. Okay.
I don't know what is up with this thing, but like, that's the spontaneous nature of this. That's another
Right,
thing.
right.
I actually wrote another poem about this. Like life is like a spontaneous play. Like you're not
Mhm.
rehearsing anything. But
Right.
people try to rehearse, but like no, like you make up your lines as you go along. And
That's so true.
you can think like, well, like you get like, is somebody writing my lines for me? Like free will? Like do I really have
Mhm.
free will? Like I believe you have free will, but
I think so.
I believe you could give it away by not being aware of what you're doing and kind of being in like
Absolutely.
an unconscious. Have you ever read the book The Power of Now
Mm-mm.
by Eckhart Tolle? That was one of the books that really changed my life. Because I remember
Mhm.
back like earlier in the podcast, you talked about like being in the present moment, like you were always
Yeah.
in the future. And
Mhm.
I noticed that like that's how I used to be. I was always in the past or the future, but never now. And
Right.
like his story is like so great. And like he starts out the book talking about how he was in like such a deep state of like depression, like just such hopelessness. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, like like for like years and years and years, and nothing was solved. And all of a sudden, like one night, he like, I don't remember the exact thing, but kind of like felt like he like fell out of his body or something, and like woke up like 3 days later and like didn't even feel like himself, and was just like
Wow.
literally like the happiest person. Like he spent like years just like sitting on a park bench, just like so like content with everything and just like so
Mhm.
joyous. And then he was like, wait, but I want to like help other people now and like teach them. So now he
Yeah.
like teaches and like wrote the book. And like it's such a powerful thing. One of the things I got out of it was just like learning how to witness your thoughts objectively, because people don't
Yeah.
know how
Yeah.
to do that.
Mhm.
People just like, if you have negative thoughts, like there's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong with that is if you react to them. Like
Yeah.
you can't just like say like, oh, like I see you for what you are.
Mhm.
I think one of the something that I just made up that I think people can relate to is like I treat my thoughts like they're like kindergartners, like they're like 5-year-olds.
Mhm.
They're all vying for your attention. So they
Yeah.
want to say the craziest stuff to get your attention. They're not going to get your attention by just like saying like very boring stuff.
Right. Right.
They want to
Right.
get your attention. So you kind of, but the thing is that people treat their thoughts like they're like
Mhm.
they're like their friends and family saying
Yeah.
this stuff, and then they really care about that. That's the problem.
That's definitely how I was for a while. And then again, when I started getting into meditation and stuff like that, that's when like I'd be like either like watching videos on how to meditate, whatever. A lot of people would say like, like you said, like treat your thoughts as if like they're detached from you. They're not actually there. Like you can let them go. So like I've really gotten better at seeing a thought and literally just like watching it like in my head, like looking at it, like I'm reading it, and then I just kind of push it away to the side, like, okay, on to the next one now. Cause that was enough negativity for the day. Let's throw that one out and like let's just come back in with the good stuff, And that's part of that self-awareness and just being able to understand yourself and learn yourself better. Like that's what happens when you do all that stuff. That's a result of it. You can kind of control or manipulate your thought process. And then you realize that you really are in control. It's just like you said, I really like that you said that. Like it's just when you kind of take that power back for yourself and you realize that you are in control, that's when you'll be in control. Like you'll have your free will.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like people think that I don't know if I would say that like you're in control of your thoughts per se. Like I think that you have a
Yeah,
lot more control than you think, but I know that you're 100% in control of the way you react to them,
exactly, exactly.
which
Yeah.
is all that really matters.
Mhm.
And the thing is that if you react to them negatively, you're giving them more power.
Mhm.
And the more you focus on like your thoughts, the more you're going to give them power. And like the realization, like somebody told me this that completely changed my life,
Mhm.
is that you're not your thoughts. You're the
Mhm.
observer of your thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's something so simple as that, but you're not going to know that until somebody tells you that,
Until someone exactly.
because you've been told something different for your entire life. And how would you have known that? Because you've never had like a experience where you were just the observer. You've
Right.
never had a state of just like supreme divine silence. That
Right.
I hope everybody gets to experience at some point. I mean, I'm not sure. I think you could have it in like while writing or like making music. Like the way that I
Mhm.
find it most easily is through meditation.
Meditation, yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Yeah, no, everything you just said was pretty on the dot.
Yeah, exactly. And like I can't wait for more people to be talking about this stuff and just like people being open about sharing their mental health experiences. Like I'm so open
Absolutely.
about it now because like there was nothing I'm at the point where I understand like there was nothing wrong with what happened to me.
Right, right.
There were a ton of things that I caused myself
Mm-hmm.
and a ton of reasons why I was going through mental health. So
Mm-hmm.
now I can learn from them, which I did, and then tell other people about it because it's okay to be going through it. It's okay to not
Absolutely.
feel okay, but it's not okay to think that there's nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely. It's like it's training yourself to kind of like be unstuck and, like you said, take back that power and just, I don't know, like it's the self reflecting and the introspection. It's looking in and seeing, well, where were some of the ways that I went wrong and like that caused some of the worst things that happened in my life. So, like I was bringing up earlier, there was a lot of things that I was allowing in my life that was not out of self love. It was out of a place of just always feeling like I had to please others before myself or whatever. So, there wasn't a lot of respect there, and I was allowing things that I shouldn't have allowed to myself. So like you said, I just hope that moving forward from here, people just start to take that more seriously and it's more like taught and talked about and more normalized so that people can just know how to kind of fix like you said, we don't really necessarily control our thoughts, but like the reacting. So the cognition of it, how we process our thoughts, how we analyze them, and just letting them go after all that, seeing what that meant. Like, okay, that was a thought that came in for some reason. What was the reason? Is it because of this that I've been suppressing or whatever? All right. And then once you deal with that, you do that like inner child work or you work on that shadow stuff and then you can move on.
Yeah, and it's easy for me to say like to tell people to be like introspective because like I'm an introvert. Like I've always like been that. Like,
Same.
are you an introvert?
Yeah, I feel like I'm an extroverted introvert. Like I'm very mixed. I think honestly, also different times in my life, I've been more like either extroverted or more introverted. But I think at the core, I'm definitely more introverted with extrovert tendencies.
Yeah, I feel that. I've definitely had to develop those over the last couple of years to like
Hmm.
my communication skills were terrible. Like I'll always say this.
Yeah.
And the reason that they're so good now is because I literally wrote every single day. Like my writing skills used to suck. How did I get them better? I wrote every single day. Like people don't
Hmm.
realize it's something as simple as that. And
Right.
obviously it's not simple because not everybody shows up and writes for 30 minutes a day. You know, some
Hmm.
people feel like they don't have the time, or some
Right.
people, I think a lot of it is that like we're all very busy, but
That's true.
I also think that we like to think that we're busier than we are because we're not productive.
That's very true. And that word productivity was a word that I know was surfacing a lot during this pandemic too. Like I know a lot of people were saying this too, but like in the beginning of the pandemic, there was a group of people like, oh, if you leave this pandemic without a new skill or without something new, then like you like if you haven't picked up a new profession and you're not like making like $2,500 a day, then you're doing it wrong and you're wasting time. And I was like, what? Like we're literally going through a pandemic, like people are dying. We're locked in the house. This is not the time to worry about like feeding the ego with superficial stuff. Do inner work. Like if people were saying that, okay, I'd support that. But it was just be productive, be productive. Like maybe I just want to relax. Like this is the first time I've had the time to myself to be so with myself, I guess. So like why wouldn't I take that time to just do that?
Yeah, exactly. And like I think one of the another huge thing is like the whole like 9 to 5 schedule
Mm-hmm.
and the whole like 40-hour work week. I don't think that people realize like you're a psychology major, so you probably like
Mm-hmm.
read studies about this and stuff, but like I'm pretty sure like people can only be productive for maybe like 5 hours a day. So
Yeah.
like you have an 8 hour workday, like you're gonna be productive for maybe 5 of those hours. Like
Yeah.
you just can't do it. And
It's
the whole thing is like is it really worth your time to be there? And is it worth the company paying you more to be there
right.
just because, or maybe it's all about control. Maybe it's that they don't want you to go home and have like some mental health time.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
that's why
literally why I
people get
quit my
stressed out.
job. Like I quit my job a month ago, maybe at this point. Like, I mean, one, I can say like this is also coming from a place of I'm not paying bills right now, so I'm lucky in that sense. Like I don't have to pay anything in my house, or whatever. I'm living with my parents, but yeah, I was like, I don't have bills. Like, it's sure side money is good to have, but is it worth my mental health right now? So I was, I decided no, it's not. And yeah, I don't have money coming in every 2 weeks anymore, but I have way more time to be with myself and to be sane. Like I was literally going crazy, but I was like, I have to be here. Like, no, I don't. And I didn't like the job. It wasn't a fulfilling job. That's my thing too. It's not even that I don't want to work out of laziness. It's just that at this point in my life, I can't do any more jobs that I'm not passionate about, that I don't care about. You know, if I'm doing something, I need to feel like I'm doing it for a purpose or like with reason, or something that like is fulfilling to me and that I know is making like the best out of my potential and like my talents. So like, you know, standing at a cash register like for 8 hours a day while people complain about store policies that had no interest for me, I was like, I'd rather just try to focus on school, I guess, and also just focus on me and making my own decisions of like out of a place of again self-love and self-respect and knowing my boundaries. So if I know I don't like this place and every time I come in here I'm stressed, why would I force myself to be here, you know? Which is why I really strive to not have to sit in one 9 to 5. And again, I mean, I don't want to diss anyone who like that's okay for. Like a lot of people can be productive for that. I mean, successfully for 8 hours straight, I don't know. But like a lot of people can be successful or they feel better in that structured, you know, setting. But that's not for me. And that's something that I've had to come to terms with. And I'm okay with that now.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that basically like you know what your priorities are.
Yeah.
And you know that your mental health is more important than money because you don't need the money at a certain point. But we're kind of taught another thing, like we're taught by society, like money is more important than mental health.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it's not.
At all. Like at all. No, like I understand the need for money, obviously, because we live in a society where everything is based off of the economy, and you know you need to pay to live. Like, and I don't even know how to talk about that, but
It's
yeah, like
like
it's just
people
weird.
don't realize that like money is a made up concept. Like the more you like realize like, oh, where did money come from? Like it came
Mm-hmm.
from like they used to have like a barter system back in
Mm-hmm.
like ancient
Yeah,
5000
yeah.
BC. And then
Mm-hmm.
they started, being like, oh, we could like have coins and stuff. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you realize like what a mockery money is, when you start getting like crypto, like Bitcoin, you're like, well, what is
Yeah,
this stuff? Like, is this even real? But like, oh, but what about the money that they just print every day? So,
literally.
so like, I think the funny thing is that like the government can just like print as much money as they want and like do whatever they
Mm-hmm.
want. But like if you print money, like it's a crime.
It's a crime. There's like it's so weird when you really like break it down and think about it. And I know a lot of people won't understand it because to them it's like, well, this is just the way it is, and that's like kind of I guess the pre-programmed thinking. But once you break out of that, it's so easy to see, but like it's so hard to see because like to me now it's so obvious. I'm like, this is literally all just control. This is just for this, that, and that, you know. But it's just not, it doesn't make sense. Like money, the amount of times I've said money is fake this past year alone is crazy. Like it's literally fake, it's made up, it's just a concept. Like it doesn't have to have value. And I think that that's another thing that I feel like with the mob mentality and everything, like there's a lot of people saying the same thing, but no one's like using mob mentality for like the right reason. It's more like out of hate, to hate on one person, like cancel culture. We'll all think alike and decide to cancel this person, but it's never, oh, we don't like this system, so let's all come together and break it down. It's like, oh, we all hate the system, but oh well, that's just how it is. It doesn't have to be like that. And I wish people in general, just everyone just like knew their power, like the power that we have, that government, like what is a government? Again, all these things were put into place. And if we really didn't like it and we had better ideas, and I'm sure there are people out there with better ideas like and how to do it, but they just don't have the support or people think it's unrealistic, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And like it all comes down to like priorities at the end of the day. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that like when I said earlier that like 90% of like people's like mental health issues come from like school, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like school age people. But then when you become like an adult, like a working
Adult,
adult,
yeah, yeah.
probably 90% of your stress comes
It's
from money
work.
issues and work
Yeah.
issues. And the thing is, like, these are all like made up concepts, like made up ideas. But the
Mm-hmm.
point is that like I'm a big proponent of like if you know like Andrew Yang, like universal basic income, like if you
Mm-hmm.
just gave people $1,000 a month,
I don't see the
like
issue with
it's
that.
just like it's crazy because I mean, so like the poverty line is like maybe 10,000 a year. So if
Mm-hmm.
you just give people $1,000 a month, then first of all, everybody's just a little bit above the poverty line. But then, all right, like you can go and make more money if you want, but if you
That's the
don't,
thing
like
about it. You
there
can
there
always
are
put more.
like people think about the unemployment like being high is like a bad thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think about it like this: like our society is super productive, like we have a ton of stuff going on. If if there aren't enough jobs for people, that means people can go do their own thing and find other things to do and like
That's
be
true.
creative. Like people don't need like a structured job to contribute to society. Like
That's
this
the
isn't
thing.
like what I'm doing right now. I'm not getting paid for. I'm doing a
Right.
podcast and trying to help people with mental health. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm always going to do, whether I'm getting paid for it or not.
I
But,
agree. I
but
agree.
people think that like this isn't a job that somebody would apply for. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is something that you're passionate about and you share it with other people. And I
Right.
think that's going to be more of like the future of like work
I agree.
when we have everything done by robots, because most of the jobs that
Mm-hmm.
exist today
Yeah,
will
yeah,
get
yeah.
replaced by robots. And
I agree with that.
people don't
100%.
like to hear that, but like there will be some new jobs created by it. But
Mm-hmm.
the whole point of it is that we become so productive that you don't need people to work.
Exactly.
So why is it such a bad thing? But the point is, oh, well, they need to work to make money. No, because we have all this extra money, we should give it to people.
Right, right. Like,
And they
it
think
doesn't
about,
make any sense.
where are we going to get the money? What do you mean? We can't just give out money. Oh, you can't just print money.
You can't
Oh,
just print it out.
and this is also another thing. So it's like, where is your priorities? So
Mm-hmm.
you can print money and spend trillions of dollars bombing other countries in wars,
That's
but
it.
you can't print trillions of dollars and give it to your citizens so they can be happier and healthier. So that's where our country's priorities,
Mm-hmm.
or the old people in our country's priorities lay. I don't like to
Absolutely.
I don't like to blame it all on old people, but it's kind
No,
of
no, I see what you. I mean, they're the ones who are like kind of implementing policy and stuff like that, and that's just very true. I don't know, like I said, like the amount of times I've said like money is literally just fake. Like we don't need to abide by the system anymore. People don't get that. But like also like you were saying, I agree like 100% that a lot of jobs aren't gonna be like the jobs that are like respectable nowadays, like doctors, nurses, whatever else. I don't know. I feel like a lot of those are gonna soon be, like you said, robots doing them. And then all the people that were looked down upon for dropping out of college to do podcasts, to do YouTube, stuff like that, they're going to be the ones that are like still employed or whatever, still have a job. Because I don't know, like one of the YouTubers I was mentioning earlier, Kai Foster, my favorite one, who like talks a lot about like a lot of real shit. Like she was saying how when she dropped out of college, a lot of people were like, oh, but what if like YouTube goes down one day randomly, or like I don't know. But she was like, that could literally be said for anything. Like, what if you're working at a company and then they just randomly close? Like stuff like that happens all the time. So I think a lot of people like to focus on the, I don't know, it's like out of like the safety of it. It's like, no, I have to do what I know for sure is working now. That doesn't mean that's going to work later in the future. So why would you plan for then, instead of again just living in the now and just doing what works now? So people would come at her for dropping out of college because like, well, right now, sure, YouTube's good now, but in 10 years, okay, then in 10 years we'll deal with that then. Let's just let's just focus on like what actually makes sense now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People want to pretend that everybody is the same person. Like
Mm-hmm.
college works for some people. It clearly didn't work for her, and it clearly
Right.
sounds like she's successful. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really familiar with her, but it sounds like she's successful, and that also shows that like she probably trusted her intuition. She
Exactly.
trusted her
Exactly.
gut. She followed something that she was passionate about. And I really dislike when a lot of these like gurus are saying like don't follow your passion, like follow the money. Well, like
Right.
the thing is like it depends what your priorities are. Like my priorities aren't money. My
Exactly.
priorities are to make enough that I can like survive. But like
I say that all
I
the time.
I get all the
Mhm.
fulfillment from like doing this and like trying to help people and just like having conversations like these where like other people can actually find value from this and like change their mental health, which is going to
Mhm.
change pretty much every aspect of your life.
Absolutely. And again, it's like to each their own. Maybe my priorities are my mental health and yours is money. But even then, same thing with like the whole makeup thing. Like I was saying, look deep down and really ask yourself why that is your priority. And then maybe your thought process might change. I don't know, maybe it won't, but that's not for me to decide or for me to tell you it is going to change, or you'll be awakened one day, you'll see the truth. Like, I'm not here to do that. But like, I don't know. I just challenge people, I guess, to just really like look at honestly all your thoughts and your belief systems and just really think about where they come from and do they resonate with you, because it might not necessarily be your own, but it definitely does feel right for you. But I don't know, just I guess just really thinking about things deeper and really analyzing them for the right purposes and with the right intentions.
I agree 100%. It's basically like questioning your thoughts, like because your
Hmm.
thoughts, I would say that your mind lies to you about 99% of the time.
Hmm.
Like, but nobody really questions their thoughts and beliefs. And like
Right.
the one thing about money, like I said this in a video yesterday, it's like wealth isn't in money, it's in the love that you give and receive. And
Mhm.
some people could hear that statement and be like, who's this guy? Like, oh,
Right.
that's
Like,
crazy. And then other people could hear it and be like, wow, like that's so true. Like
exactly.
you could have millions and millions of dollars, and if you don't have any friends and family that love you, if you don't love yourself, like
Mhm.
what's the point? You're probably really sad.
Absolutely.
And like,
And that's what happens with a lot of like millionaires and billionaires that end up like, committing suicide, unfortunately. It's like that's proof right there that it's not in the money itself. Like money, I know obviously like logically speaking, it can lead to better things that can help, mental state. Like if you're in poverty, I'm sure money getting yourself a house would definitely help your mental state. But at a certain point, it's like how much is too much, I guess. I don't know. Like that's why I guess what did you say? I think I agree with you said. Oh yeah, living just money is not the like priority because you just want to be comfortable. Like and that I've always said that to myself. Like my desire, my at my heart, I don't want to be rich, rich, rich and like have $1 million mansion or whatever. I just want to make enough so that I'm, comfortable, like enough to live on my own and be like independent, but not money obsessed.
yeah. And like the thing is like, I know I don't need to make that much money to live comfortably because like I don't spend like the only thing I spend money on is like food and
Mm-hmm.
books. And like I already have enough books. Like I don't need to buy more books. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like buying new clothes. I'm not like
Yeah.
buying like expensive cars, like
Mm-hmm.
rocking the Corolla, love the Corolla. But like
Yeah.
I just think that like people need to think about what they really want and whether it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a dream that they've been sold. Like one of my big
Right,
things is
right.
like you can't buy dreams, but everywhere in society people are going to try to sell you
Sell them.
dreams.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to talk about dreams because I noticed that you use the term like awake, like talking about like
Mm-hmm.
spiritual, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the more I've thought about it, I've kind of understood why people like say it like that, like talking
Mm-hmm.
about like being awake because like that's very close to the word like aware, but it
Mm-hmm.
also has to do with like I'm of the belief now that like reality or like what we call this is just like a
Mm-hmm.
dream.
Like a dream
I,
state.
like a dream within a dream within a dream. Because like, have you
Mm-hmm.
ever had a dream where like you've woken up in the dream
Yes.
and you've been
So many
and
times.
you've been like, oh, that was a dream, but then you
Yeah.
wake up from that dream and you were literally in a dream,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, like I actually think that like what we're in right now, because how's
Mm-hmm.
the only way that you know you were in a dream when you wake up from it?
When you wake up,
So
exactly.
how do you know when you don't wake up from this that we're in a dream? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like it's definitely like I feel like reality can be compared to a dream state, and it can also just be like compared. Well, yeah, like for like the fake dreams that people are trying to sell and all that stuff, but also just like the robotic life that we're talking about, like the just kind of being and just so I guess one-sided, about things and just seeing things from one perspective. I think it's like a kind of like a game. Like it's very it kind of functions almost like a game. Like I know you probably heard the theory, like people say like, oh, we're living like in a simulation. And it sometimes like looking at it from my perspective now where I am in my life, like it did look like a simulation because I was just kind of like being programmed to literally think a certain way and to become a certain way and to do things because of certain things. Like I had to really challenge a lot of my thoughts and beliefs at like this point that I am now to realize that a lot of those weren't my own like true desires. So yeah, definitely like waking up from like a dream, like, wait, hold on. Like what's like, oh, like this is reality. Like I can control my own reality. Like I don't have to go by the script. Like it's so yeah, it's enlightening.
But like when you say it like that, because like I think that like any way that you any way that you frame it, like because that's just us
Hmm.
putting words on things. Like I think
Right.
any way that you frame it is going to be correct. Like you
Hmm.
could be like from one perspective we're in a simulation. Like the way I
Hmm.
say it is like we're in an infinite dream machine. Like we're in
Hmm.
dreams and they keep going. But you could also say like we're in a spontaneous play. This is like a stage.
Right, right,
You could
right.
also say like life is a video game. Like that was
Mhm.
I remember that was one of Spiritual So's videos. I was like, that's so true. Like you're literally just like in a video game, but it doesn't mean that you're being controlled by somebody else. But
Exactly.
also at the point where, have you ever had any lucid dreams?
I've only had like one where like I was really controlling it. That was like it was really interesting. I don't know. I think I was in like a parking lot and like I was in some type of danger. And then I just remember being like, no, I don't like where this is going. And then like I just like left or something. I don't know. It was weird.
But like, have you ever thought? Because like when you're in a lucid dream, it's kind of like you wake up and you're aware that you're in a dream. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
how do you not know that like right now you're in a dream, like that you could be like aware, like oh there's a dream, and then like be lucid, like have like kind of like the superpowers that you would have in a lucid
Mhm.
dream. Do you think that those are possible for people to access right now? What's your opinion on that?
That's such a good question. Shoot, I think if you're open to it, like I don't know, it's kind of hard because it's like getting open to it in the first place, which is where people really struggle to like get that. But I think if you can get to that point, then it's possible. I don't know. Like, can you say the end of the question again? Like, repeat it again one more time.
I honestly am not too sure what I said, but it's basically like
Okay.
I remember that just like when you're like in a lucid dream, like I've not had many, but like you kind of have like you're more aware and you kind of have like these like superpowers that like
Hmm.
you're able to like change the dream
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
by will.
yeah. Hmm.
So actually the way I phrase it now, like it probably is true that like you could do that, but maybe not in not as direct ways as in like when you're in that type of dream.
Right, right, right.
You can like change the world through your actions and through your thoughts. Maybe not just through your thoughts, but maybe through your thoughts. I don't know.
And no, that's true. I think it's thoughts and also like I guess it's that same going back to like knowing that you're in control of your own life. It's like when you realize that and you realize that you know you're kind of going through a world that's not necessarily designed for you to know about your own power. And like when you I guess wake up and you see that, it's much easier for you to make decisions based like it's easier to trust your intuition and like you know your decisions are coming from a place for yourself and not for other people.
I have one more question about dreams
Hmm.
because I love to hear what people think about this. Do
Okay.
you think that other people in your dreams are real? And when I say
Ooh.
real, like say you see me in a dream, is it
Uh-huh.
me? Is it your mind's projection of me, or is it me in another dimension?
Damn. I think.
Actually, I'll just share my story, like to
Okay, go ahead.
while you think of it, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
share like why my opinion changed on this.
Okay.
I think it can be both,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember like the one lucid dream I remember having like a couple months ago. Like I was in maybe like this theater or something. Like I don't know what was going on, but like there was a ton of people there, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like sitting on a couch. Like no, I didn't get to the couch yet. I was like just like scrambling from place to place, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw like this girl, and like she looked like super familiar. I was like, where did I see her from? But I not somebody I know like in this life or like anything. And like she
Mm-hmm.
looked at me also, and like we kind of like walked and like we sat on the couch together. And
Mm-hmm.
at this point, like I knew I was in a dream, like in a lucid dream, and like she didn't, and she was like freaking out, like what's going on, like
Oh.
why do you say so familiar? And I was like, all right, like I know this is gonna like mess you up, but like just take a deep breath, like we're in a dream right now. And literally like have you seen the show? I'm getting chills just like thinking about this. Like
Yeah.
have you seen the show Avatar?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know like when he goes in the Avatar state, like his eyes light
Yeah,
up.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I saw her stand up, and like that happened to her, and basically like her dream was turning lucid also. So
What?
I believe that she was like we were in like the same dream and she was lucid. But then what happened was, and this is like a great metaphor for like crabs in the bucket. What
Uh-huh.
happened was that like everybody around us just like attacked her, and just like and like she was poof gone. And then I was like, wow, like that's so messed up. And then I started egging everybody on, and then they messed me up, and then I was back here.
Well that's wow. That's so cool, first of all. I've never had an experience like that, but I mean, now that just completely changed my perspective because I think before I was like, well, I mean, they're just characters in your dream. Like, no, they're probably not. I don't know. Like, so do you think like we can like share dreams with other people then?
I feel like, well, I'm kind of the belief that like we exist in like infinite different dimensions. So like
Ah,
there's like infinite of many of us. So
yeah.
like you could be interacting with me in a dream, but it might not
Hmm.
be like this me. It could be like another dimensional me, or I could be interacting with another dimensional you.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
think that they're kind of like this is like getting like deeper into like different things, but like there could be like
Hmm.
different entities that can like shapeshift and like look like me, but
Okay.
it's not actually me. And I feel like I've been able to like discern more and more which is
Hmm.
actually like the real you and which is like people like disguising as you, if that kind of makes
Oh,
sense.
no, that makes a lot of sense.
Kind of
That
deep.
makes so that was deep as hell. Yeah, I did not expect that. Oh my god, I've never experienced that, but that no, that makes a lot of sense. Like the way you described that, wow, Avatar state. Okay, that's so cool though. No, I like that. I mean, I
I'll
definitely
always remember that, just like the seeing like the eyes light up, and I was like, wow, like I think this because
wow.
I don't know why, like I just like
Yeah.
recognized her. Like, did I recognize her from another dream, or like
Hmm.
were we like in school together in different
Right,
dream
right.
world B?
That's so cool. Oh my god, that's amazing. I've never experienced that, but shoot. I mean, I've always been open to like the idea of multidimensional, like a multidimensional world or universe. And I think, I mean, that's a good way to put it then. That's like a good example of that. I've never had any proof or any legitimate reason to believe it, but I guess it's just me being open to anything. And like, again, no truth is the truth. So I don't know. So I'm open to any ideas, honestly.
Yeah, I just think that it's like I don't even think it's like somewhere else. Like I think all the dimensions are just like here, but it's like one thing
Here.
like you can't always tap into them or like tune into them. But like
Right.
for some reason when you're dreaming, you're because like I kind of think that like this is like another interesting way to think about it, but that just popped in my mind. Like, you know, like you have all these thoughts in your mind about like the future or like you're like envisioning a scenario happening.
Mhm.
How do you know that you're not just watching another dimension in your mind?
Yo, that's a good ass point. How do we know? Oh my God, we probably are. That's kind of like the whole like the higher self thing. Now I'm thinking about it because I was mentioning earlier how like I do like a lot of higher self meditation too, and like I remember like that started from a higher self pick a card reading that I watched on YouTube or whatever, and then like she was just like saying like okay, well this is your message from like your higher self to yourself to remind you or like to guide you or whatever. And then when I started doing the meditations and stuff, they would kind of like have me envision myself in like the place that I want to be. And like that's a good way. Like maybe that is me. I'm watching it happen. Oh my no, I love that. Yeah.
That's the
That is
thing.
so cool.
Like your higher self or like whatever you want to call it is like
Yeah.
more you than you think you are.
Then exactly.
Like you think you're like a body and like a form. Like people
Mhm.
identify with like their religion, like their race, like
Right, right.
anything like that. Like no, like your higher self is like literally like this is actually my last book. I'll plug it.
Okay.
Stars of Love. You're
Stars of love.
literally. I think that the concept is so simple, which makes it so easy to think. Like you're literally a star of love. You're a
Mhm.
being made of light and love. And
Yeah.
you think like some people would be like, oh, that's dumb. Like that doesn't make sense. And some people are like, oh, that's true. Like everything is energy. Like everything is love. Everything
Right,
is
right,
light.
right. Exactly.
And like you think that like you're just like this body, like this like suit of like meat or
Mhm.
like armor or like whatever it is. Like
Yeah,
no, like
yeah.
you're if you don't think that you're a star of love, you're underestimating your true power. Because
Absolutely.
think about the power of a star, like the sun. The
Mhm.
sun shares its light, and it's such a great like metaphor. Like
Yeah.
the sun literally shares its light unconditionally in every single direction,
That's so
and
true.
it literally makes life happen. So it's the same way that you share your light, but the problem is that we don't share it unconditionally. We share it
Mhm.
we share it based on conditions, based on whether people agree with us,
Yeah.
whether they are in line with our opinions, so they don't
Mhm.
cancel. The sun's not going to cancel anyone.
Exactly, exactly. No, that's true. The sun doesn't choose who it wants to, share its powers with. I think that's a good idea. Honestly, like you'll see in my video that I post next, if you watch it, my unconditional love one, and there was like a lot of it was, I mean, I feel like for the most part, a lot of people were saying that unconditional love doesn't exist, and that was even kind of my opinion on it. But then someone said like it's more of a personal, like you have unconditional love for yourself. And I think I don't know. I feel like now I'm kind of changing my mind because if you have unconditional love for yourself, I feel like you can channel that or turn that into unconditional love for everyone else.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm definitely of the belief that like unconditional love exists, but like I don't even think it's a belief. I just think like you were saying like the only truth is that there's no truth. Like I would
Mhm.
disagree with that. Like I think that the only truth is that unconditional love. Like that's
Okay.
it. Because anything that's not unconditional love is a lie. Trying to make you think that unconditional love isn't truth. Like everything that we have, like fear,
Fair.
like ego, negativity, it's
Hmm.
just trying to take your attention away from love.
That's a good point. I like that. Okay. Yeah, no, you're changing my mind a little bit. I like that. That's very that makes sense. I think because like we were saying, yeah, I don't know, everything that's not coming from a place of love is coming from like yeah, an authenticity. Because I think if we are stars of love, then how can we not, like express that love? Like if we're not doing that, then we're doing a disservice or just being untrue to ourselves, right?
Yeah,
In a
it's
way.
pretty much like you have this like light in your heart center, and it's basically like, are you going to choose to let it shine? Because it's kind of like what we do is like we build like this dam, or like
Hmm.
to like if you think about like a river, like it's like the love is always flowing out and it's always flowing in, like the energy
Yeah.
flow. But we kind of build this dam which comes from like past experiences of like hurt and trauma, and we close our hearts. Like that's what I know I did. I closed my heart off and was never letting anyone in. It was never letting anything out. And the whole thing is like that makes it unhealthy. When you
Right.
start to like let it shine through, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
have this like glow to you where like
Yeah.
people are like, wow, like this person is like a ray. Like have you ever heard of like this person's like a ray of light or like a
Hmm.
ray of sunshine?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think like the words we use are like very like powerful and like show that like wow, like that's actually what it is. Like we literally are all stars of love.
That's true. No, yeah, you said it perfectly. I think I agree with everything you just said.
Wow, that just got deep. All right.
No, it really did.
I think that's a great close end to the episode.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
I don't know, I guess final words, just love yourself, love everyone around you, be you, don't be scared to be authentically yourself. Um, anyone who doesn't want to accept that, that's not your issue. Like just do what rings true for you. Um, take care of yourself. Yeah.
Love that. All right. Signing off. Thank you for tuning in to another episode and have a great day.